For those who are new or unfamiliar with my content, I would like to give a disclaimer. Slow Damage has an extremely self-destructive main character, and his nonchalant comments about his lack of concern for himself does trigger my nervous laughter. If you'd like to view my content that covers darker and triggering subjects like this one, please consume it responsibly and know that this content is not for minors. I want to emphasize that if you experience any of the severe symptoms that Toa does, I highly encourage that you seek professional help rather than view this playthrough. Good evening and welcome back to Slow Damage, part 14, I believe. We'll correct it if I'm wrong. So I don't know how long this part will be exactly. Might be shorter, might be longer. We let fate decide here. So, last we left off with Ray. Man, he's just going through it, isn't he? Poor thing. So we're doing our best. We're trying to help out Ray. Yeah, where did we leave off? But anyway, if you want to rewatch the last part to refresh your memory, as I probably will, because I need to refresh that memory, please click back. Okay, but seriously, so the main things are, you know, Ray has accrued a terribly large debt from his father, because his father cannot pay it and has decided to dump it on Ray, despite never really liking Ray that much in the first place. What a bum. Sakaki is trying to invite Toa to Takasato Gumi party because it is an anniversary date of Toa's father's death. It's a grand old time. Also, Ray and Toa went to the casino because it's gonna be Ray's last time eating the dessert buffet because of this insanely large debt his father has given to him, and he cannot just chuck it to his father because they will cut him up into little pieces and sell his organs off. He's probably not worth that much. And Ray happened to see him at the casino, because what a bum. What a deadbeat dad. Anyway, let's see if we can make it happen for us today. Let's see how we can get through this episode. Oh yeah, also, Ray has anger issues, but what's new? And we're trying to keep him from beating the deathmatch arena people to death. Some of them are remnants of Kirimizu's gang. So we're just having a grand old time, aren't we? Gosh, this poor child. Poor children, actually. Like, poor Toa and Ray. They're just having the time of their lives. Alright, kids. Let's make do. Have mercy. Alright, let's go! The next day... Oh, having such a hard time that the mouse is even stressed out. I was scheduled to work that morning, so Taku came to wake me, and somehow I managed to get to my seat before the clinic opened. When I arrived on the first floor, Ray was already wandering in the hall in his work clothes. But there were dark circles under his eyes, possibly from the stress of last night's attack. Oh yes, that's right. I think that's where we left off. It gets a little jumbly in this chapter, in this route, as a whole. It gets a little jumbly. It's pretty chaotic. It's not as linear as Taku's. I was scheduled to work until 7 p.m. when Arata took over for me. After that, I went back to my apartment. I changed out of my work uniform and then flopped down on the sofa. As I listened absently to the drone of the TV, I thought back to Ray. From there, I decided to go to roost, so I rose to my feet and pulled on my coat. Exploration! Perfect. Okay, let's see. Is this... Wait, am I about to get the Kotarou route right now? Oh boy. Here we go. Let me pray for myself right now. Okay. Nightlife district. Here we go. Let me prepare my life. Oh boy. I'm about to get... Okay. I'm just like... Wow.
Oh.
Oh, here we are. Oh, hey. Oh boy.
Yo.
Flying solo?
Oh.
Yeah, it's just me. What, you think Mayu and Eiji and me are all attached at the hip or something? I mean... For a while, yes. No, but you do generally spend a lot of time with them. Well, we do a lot of work together, that's all. We're not stuck together 24/7. What's the matter? You in a bad mood today? Huh? Well, I'm just feeling a little snippy. You know what it's like, right? Sometimes you just want to punch stuff for no reason. Can't relate. Well then, what about wanting to... You can relate to that, can't you? Oh boy. Yeah, for sure. That's Artoa. He knows what he's about. Well, I'm asking, are you free right now? Oh, here we go.
Okay.
Yep. Here we go. I don't have any plans. Kotarou doesn't beat around the bush. Let's go, baby. Oh gosh, no, I didn't realize it'd be so soon. Sure. Oh boy. Oh, have mercy. Okay. All right. That's what I like to hear. Oh, here we go. There too. Anywhere's fine. Let's grab a drink. Sounds good. Oh, mercy. Oh my god.
さて、行くか。
Oh boy.
あっさんしによ。
Oh lord.
あ
Oh
あ、
boy.
何気に久しぶりじゃね？
I think it has been a while. His burly arm wrapped around my waist, forcing me along. And so he guided me to a bar bathroom. Not the bathroom. Not the bathroom. Not the bathroom. Once we were both in the stall, he slammed the door shut and locked it. Then he pushed me down onto it. It's okay, so romantic. With a faint smirk, he unbuckled his belt and pushed his pants.
加えろよ。
He grabbed my jaw with one hand and forced his half tub against my lips. I was willing to top if my partner asked me to, but Kotarou was always a top, both in bed and in terms of personality. For me, bottoming was easier. Okay, good. Topping took effort. Whenever... Sorry, I'm just gonna keep laughing. Kotarou only ever focused on his own pleasure. I mean, that doesn't surprise me. He knew my kinks, so he treated me like like a dumpster, and sometimes donkey punched me. Wow. Okay, great. To me, he was the ideal. Of course, he was. With that thought, I closed my eye and obediently opened my mouth. He promptly Stuffed himself inside and grabbed the back of my head. Okay, that's, yeah. Wasn't that hard yet.
下使えよ。しっかりな。
Okay. Obeying the orders from above, I ran my... I'm telling you right now, if you're hearing this, I probably can't include this in the video because of the noises. Yeah. The soft mass gradually began to harden and take shape inside my mouth. My nostrils were filled with the raw animal smell of sweat, but for me, this only made the debasement hotter. As I slowly bobbed back and forth, I heard his breathing elevate. He was almost fully erect now. Exhaling, he suddenly grabbed the back of my head. Oh boy. Then he started bucking his hips at my face. Tip hit back my throat, triggering intense nausea. Tears watered in my eye. Grimacing, I endured it. The muffled sounds from my mouth had finally lit the flame of lust inside me. Good. This was exactly how much I wanted to suffer. Oh my gosh, Toad, please. I wasn't some masochist who got off on the pain inflicted by a sadist. More accurately, I wanted to experience people's most base desires. The animal instincts most people tried and failed to keep hidden. The kind that would overwhelm me until I couldn't think straight. I wanted to be utterly destroyed. Regular sex wasn't enough. Violence was closer to what I wanted. But if my partner wasn't on the same page as me, then it just wasn't enough. Still, it was better than nothing, so I used casual sex to fill the void. Oh, yep, here we go. It wasn't pleasure. All I did was detox. I wiped my wet hand on my shirt, then pulled my cigarettes and lighter out of my coat pocket. I slid one between my lips and lit it. Ooh. Lazily, I straightened one of my bent legs. Then I took a long drag and slowly exhaled. A fuzzy white trail rose up overhead and faded away. Blankly, I sat there and watched it go. Woohoo! Dang, Kotarou really said bye. I thought there was a little more story before I reached the Kotarou ending. But here we are now. I didn't expect any less from Kotarou. Yeah. Mayu was a lot nicer just because he's a nerd. And he made Toa, like, have it going on in cosplay. Oh boy. Alright, but I think we can continue with the route. Yeah, because with the last one, I was doing the route and I didn't expect the Mayu ending to show up. So, whereas like the opposite happened here and I'm like, oh, this is the one ending, isn't it? Oh boy. Yeah, let's wait for the credits to end a bit, but yeah, Kotarou was a good break from all the stress I've been receiving about Ray. It's really not as stressful as like the Asakura Taku routes. It wasn't as stressful. Oh goodness. These credits are so slow. Don't tell me what to do. Oh, mercy. But I do know that there's no route for AG, correct? And I was just like, why not? Why not AG? You know what I'm saying? Who knows? The world may never know. And I forgot these credits are kind of long. Dual flip! I don't know. I can't do that here. Oh, goodness. Oh. Let's just wait for the credits to keep on rolling. And then we'll continue our story. Alright, well, that was fairly painless. Well, not for Toa, but for us, fairly painless. Also, we got a little spicy scene with just Toa, so that's always good. After they finally pulled him off me, Honami decked him in the face. His eyes widened and his legs gave out. Evidently, the fight with Arata had used up most of his strength.
Toa, 大丈夫?
Oh no. Honami hastily peered at my face. Ugh. It's always poor Toa. I couldn't feel any bone fractures, but it was one hell of a punch. My mouth was bleeding. Arata laid the unconscious man onto the asphalt, then rushed over to me.
ごめんね。対戦相手に逆恨みされるのはよくあることなんだけど、まさかトアの方に行っちゃうなんて。
Yeah.
正気じゃなかったみたいだからな。
Yeah, maybe he's on some. As I spoke, I looked over at the guy on the ground. Likewise, Arata followed my gaze, then fell silent in contemplation.
あのね。
After a pause, they spoke up again.
レイのことなんだけど、デスマッチに参加できない理由って聞いてる？
I don't know, honey. He won't tell me, so he did not give me the tea.
いや。
そっか。
Sorry, honey, otherwise I would. Nodding quietly, Arata stared at their feet.
昨日のレイの様子が少しおかしいっていうのは気づいてたんだ。でも、私もホナミもレイを信頼してるから、必要以上に詮索することはしなかった。それは今もそう。何か言えないような事情があるんだろうって思ってる。それでも、レイが私たちのことをトアに託したのは、本当に心配してくれてるからだろうし、トアを信頼してるからなんだよね。だから、レイのこと、よろしくお願いします。
We'll try our best, bestie, but,
トアにとっては、私たちとレイの両方から押し付けられてるように感じるかもしれないけど、
でも
もしレイから連絡があったら、助けてあげてほしい。
We're trying, bestie. We're trying our best. Ray is a tough cookie. Arata bowed to me deeply in a show of sincerity. In response, I nodded silently. He smiled back, relieved. Normally, I wouldn't stick my nose into other people's business, but it was clear this meant a lot to them, so I couldn't say no. Besides, I was concerned about Ray myself. After that, we decided to call it a night, and the three of us left the deathmatch area. After we all parted ways, I was walking home, having a smoke. No one else was out on the street, and there were barely any cars. Then I heard the sound of an engine approaching from up ahead. The sound grew louder and louder until eventually 2 round headlights appeared in the darkness. Hello? Oh no. A white van faintly came into view behind them. It drove up to me and stopped short. The windows were all tinted, so I couldn't see inside. I stopped walking and the passenger side window rolled down. Oh, thank goodness. I was just like, who are you? I can't do this. I can't do this right now. I'm emotionally fragile. Okay. Let's continue. It's just AG. Seated on the other side was AG. Then his bright smile shifted into a look of alarm.
その顔どうしたんですか？喧嘩ですか？
We went somewhere. That's what happened. Did you get into a fight? Yeah. Yeah.
まあな、そっちは。
More or less. Sort of.
仕事です。今すっごい人手不足で僕まで借り出されちゃいまして、荷物運びをやらされてるんですよ。
AG of all people, yeah, he's right though. He shot me a meaningful smirk.
何しろ借金が返済できなくて行き詰まった置物がこの町にはたくさんありますから。
He wrong.
暖かくなる前に処理しちゃわないとたまる一方ですからね。
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, the heat be messing with everybody. So, by dead weight, he meant debtors that were left with no choice but to repay their debts with their lives. So if AG was doing cargo transport, then that van was probably full of dead weight. Oh no.
それじゃそろそろ行きますね。トアさん、また。
Bye, AG. With that, he rolled up his window, and the van drove off into the darkness. Dead weight. Just then, Ray's father came to mind. Seeing as he kept failing to make payments, chances were high he might end up in that van too. After all, the possibility of recovery for a gambling addict that had that far into debt was next to nil. Yeah, it's... And yet Ray was trying to shoulder his father's burden nonetheless. He said that if he refused to pay the debt, his father would be killed. Throw him in the sea, honey. He's a deadbeat. So why wouldn't he just let it happen? He's got morals. If he hated his father so much, then why help him at all? You know, it's okay, I'll put it this way. It's still his dad. And you know, people human beings are interesting because we have a lot of complexities when it comes to like our relationships with others, etc., etc. And it's just a lot. You know, it's really just like a lot. So I can understand Ray because he may dislike his father, he may hate his father, but he probably doesn't want his father to die. You know, and it's understandable. Any normal human being wouldn't be like, yeah, gut him, throw him in the ocean. And you don't want to be responsible for like another person's death normally. There's some strangers out there who have different thoughts, but honestly, you just don't know, really. It's like it's an interesting place to be. You never really know what you're gonna do until it happens to you, essentially. You know, until you're desperate enough and you really have to make the decision, like, you know. So I understand, Ray, but I say throw him out. Like, Toa and me, we on the same wavelength, you know. Was it because they were family? Because they were father and son? In my case, my father was a stranger. I couldn't even remember my mother, so Ray's viewpoint made zero sense to me. Why would he make this sacrifice? These were the thoughts I had as I walked through the cold, dark city. Slow damage. That's usually when the slow damage shows up, but it's fade to black instead. As the clinic building came into view, I spotted someone standing in front of the entrance. I could see their faint silhouette illuminated by the glow of the street lamps. Their back was turned so I couldn't see their face. Cautiously, I approached. The figure was staring down at the ground, and they didn't seem to notice me. Eventually, I got close enough to realize who it was.
Oi.
The figure, Ray, slowly turned. I mean, who else was it gonna be? Oh! A moment later, I sucked in a breath. His eyes were sharp as knives. Like two hot pokers, they bored into me. the same eyes I'd given him in my drawing. The thought sent goosebumps pricking up my arms. When he realized it was me, he smiled in relief.
なんだとは
Oh boy. The sharp cutting energy vanished, and he was back to his usual self. But my heart was still racing 100 miles a minute. His pointed gaze had burned itself into my retina. He looked at my face and frowned.
その顔殴られたのもしかしてデスマッチで
Listen.
巻き込まれたやだ
I was a bystander, but yeah. His frown deepened as he pressed a hand to his mouth. Then I noticed that his face had fresh bruises too.
そっちこそ喧嘩でもしてきたのか
Yeah, what's your tea, honey? At this, he averted his eyes.
ちょっと揉めちゃってそれよりとはごめんねまさか巻き込まれるなんて
I mean, you know, Toa just attracts like a lot of violence, whether he likes it or not. You know, whether he's looking for it or whether he's just like hanging out. It's like, unfortunately, your man's just sadly attracts violence. Unfortunately, I wish I could say different, but alas.
確かにあの場所では何があってもおかしくないんだけど今さら怪我の一つや二つ増えたところでな
He smiled at me in exasperation. Just then I noticed that his gaze was wavering. He seemed somewhat restless, either that or he was just that tired.
喧嘩の後肉は食べに行かなかったのか
Oh.
肉を食べないと発散できないんだろ
Oh. Only then did he realize what I was getting at. He looked away innocently.
まあ一人でお肉を食べようって気分にもならなくて
He's kinda in a bad place right now.
もやもやしてるのわかるあ
Yes. 1,000%. 80,000%.
やだバレてるとわって意外と人のことを見てるわよね
Toa only acts like he doesn't care, but it's like in order to make his paintings, he has to actually pay attention to the people around him for the most part. And like he mentioned, like he pays attention a lot to Ray when Ray's not like doing his little little good boy type of beat, you know, when Ray like starts like getting a little weird, like, you know, again, when the smoke starts getting agitated, or like Ray himself is like, you know, he starts like snapping, Toa pays a lot of attention to Ray. Toa just likes to antagonize Ray because he doesn't like going to he doesn't like eating sweets, he doesn't like hanging out, like, you know, he doesn't want to do anything, like, you know, it's, you know, but yeah, they have a very interesting relationship, so. Smiling shyly, he continued to fidget with his hands like he was on edge. I watched him for a moment, then spoke up. They should really go inside, I can't lie.
抜いてやろうか
Toa's just like, bro, just let me do it. He whipped his head up to look at me, his cheeks steadily flushed redder and redder.
またそれ言う前から言ってるけどそんなんじゃないって
Are you sure? Because honey is rough, like, you know, it's just like, I don't know what you need to do, but what you're doing now is not working. Like, Ray, maybe you should just do it, like, just do it. You know.
興奮と食欲はつながってるって言ってたよなでも食欲の発散もしてないんだろ
Based on his previous reactions, I expected him to blow up at me. Oh, is it finally happening? Are we finally getting our scene? But surprisingly enough, all he did was blush and glare at me.
抜いてやるよ
Sorry. Toa's bug wild. Okay. Blushing even more furiously, he opened and closed his mouth like a goldfish.
ただ処理するだけだしそんなに恥ずかしがることでもない
It's just right, you know.
恥ずかしがるに決まってるじゃない。何言ってるのよ。
ついてるもんは同じだ。
Sorry, I just laugh every time because Ray is just like, and then Toa's like, I mean, if you wanna, like, it's not that bad. He's like, I can do it. Oh, lordy. Trembling with rage, he glared at me sharply. Yet, I didn't sense any disgust toward the idea itself. I would have seen his smoke shift, but it didn't. I donned a provocative smile and jerked my chin in the direction of the clinic.
Yeah. 来いよ。
Word. Would he actually come in with me? Maybe not, but that was fine by me. Without waiting for his response, I turned on my heel and headed into the building. Yeah, please go in. Like, you guys have been standing outside too long, and you guys don't live in a very safe area. You know? You guys at night? No, not that. Okay, is it happening? Is it happening? Come on, Ray. Come on, Ray. You can do it, Ray. On the first floor, the lights were all off. Evidently, Taku had gone home. I hope Taku went home. Lord have mercy. Ray ended up tagging along with me. We walked through the darkened lobby and hallway, then took the elevator up to the 3rd floor. I walked into the room, switched on the TV in place of the lights, then tossed my coat over the back of the sofa. But Ray hung back near the door like he wasn't sure what he was supposed to do. This poor boy.
でも
You can come inside, Ray. In the room. Get nasty. He looked at me perplexed. I strode over to him and leaned in. Reflexively, he recoiled. I put my hands on his shoulders and pushed him back even further. Now I had him up against the wall. Then I pressed my hand to the wall, boxing him in, and gazed deeply into his eyes. Okay, word. Prism up! Illuminated by the pale light of the TV, Ray's eyes looked as though they had lost all color.
でも、何?
Yeah, what? But what? Quietly, I prompted him to continue.
だってあのまま帰るのも変かなって思って、それでついてきただけだし。
Just let loose.
帰るか。
Let loose. I said let loose. Gotta decide,
嫌な
honey.
ら帰れ。
Come on, honey. I whispered in his ear, then grabbed his arm. Sucking in a breath, he tried to pry my hand off. But then, I grabbed his other hand, lacing my fingers with his. I stared deep into his eyes without breaking eye contact, without even blinking. Under my direct gaze, most people faltered and averted their eyes. I took this as a sign that I had triumphed over them. And by making the first move, I could control the flow of events. Naturally, Ray was no exception, and now he was mine. Sorry. The jazz music always gets me. Okay, under my gaze, he let out a shaky breath. With my fingers sliced between his, I slowly sank to my knees. Oh, here we go. Ray, it's okay. Just, I'll turn away. I'll look away. Now his crotch was right in front of my face. It was obvious what I was planning to do. Smiling faintly, I looked up at him as I roughly unbuckled his belt with one hand. If he really didn't want this, he could always shove me away. It would be all too easy for a tough guy like him. But I was confident he wouldn't. Even after I unbuttoned and unzipped his pants, he remained frozen in place. But I could hear his barely suppressed breathing from overhead. Oh, excuse me, hold on. He glared at me, too furious for words.
よかっただろ。
Not me. It's It's pretty obvious.
あんたって本当にもう最低の最悪よ。
Do you? Do you? Eh?
ひどい言われようだな。
No, it doesn't.
最低最低よ。
He shouted at me as he hastily readjusted his clothes. Silently, I folded my arms and looked straight at him.
顔の怪我の理由は父親か。
The embarrassed panic faded from his face, and his expression clouded over.
いいでしょう、何でも。
Muttering to himself, he pulled away from the wall he was leaning against.
もし誰かに私の怪我のことを聞かれても何も言わないで。
With that quiet request, he headed for the door. Then, with one final look over his shoulder at me, he left the room without another word. I lit a cigarette and flopped down on my back on the sofa. The smoke made me squint. Last time I made that suggestion, he shot me down, so I backed down. And if he had shot me down this time, I would have backed down again. But he didn't. Judging from the bruises on his face, among other things, Ray was having a really tough time. But most of all, I could see it in his eyes. That sharp look in his eyes prior to the moment he recognized me. Those were the eyes of someone who had lost all hope. Ray was suffering in silence, trying to hide something from the rest of us. It probably had something to do with his dad's debt, and now his life was spiraling out of control. So what was his next move? I took a long, deep drag and slowly exhaled the cigarette smoke. Slow damage. Man, this is rough because we're just waiting on Ray to like crack, and when he cracks, it ain't gonna be hot. Or maybe it will, but not in a good way. The next morning, after Taku woke me for my morning shift, I almost said Toa, and I was gonna like, after I woke myself for my morning shift. I saw on the news that another assault had taken place. The perpetrators were reportedly a group wearing all black. It happened outside the deathmatch area, and the victim was sent to Takanokuchi Medical Office. Was it the same group that jumped Junko? It's hard to say, since this kind of thing happens so often. I got dressed and headed down to the first floor and unlocked the front door. I removed the closed sign from the doorknob, then took my seat at the reception counter. The queue of patients filed in from the outside, placing their insurance cards into the basket on the counter. Aren't you someone? Aren't you? Get this man out. I looked over to find a man with bad posture standing at the counter, smiling hesitantly. It was the man from the casino.
ここに泉というスタッフはいますか?
No. No. Izumi, Ray's surname. Sure enough, this man was Ray's father. Instantly, the memories came flooding back. When we were at that classy hotel for the dessert buffet, we saw him playing slots in the casino. With his sunken eyes and hollow cheeks, not even a forced smile could conceal his sneaky vibes. His smoke was like paint water, dark, muddy, and brown. Back at the hotel, Ray took one look at this man and ran out. Now my suspicions were confirmed.
泉は休みです。どういったご用件でしょう?
I decided to dig a little, so I responded in my most professional voice.
私、泉の父親なんですが。
No one likes you. With an obsequious smile plastered on his face, Ray's father continued.
どうしても息子と話したくてですね。いろいろと探してみたら、ここで働いていることを知りまして。
No, I bet you do. I bet you do.
すみませんが、息子に連絡をして、今すぐ呼んでもらえませんかね。
お父さんから連絡した方がいいんじゃないですか。
Yeah, why not?
それがお恥ずかしいことに連絡先がわからなくてですね。どうにかお願いできませんかね。
Okay. Evidently, he had no intention of backing down. Meanwhile, the patients were starting to stare at us. I could already tell this conversation was only going to go in circles. Frankly, I was more interested in what exactly he wanted to say to Ray.
院長に確認しますので、少々お待ちください。
Work. And I picked up the phone and called the exam room. When I explained the situation to Taku, he told me to have him come back at lunchtime. Ray's father readily agreed and, as promised, returned to the clinic at the specified time. When he arrived, the waiting room was devoid of patients. Instead, he came face to face with me and Taku. Also present were Honami and Junko, the latter of whom had arrived just prior to lunchtime for their checkup. The sheer number of people seemed to intimidate Ray's father, who shrank further into himself and peeked around the room.
この方々は
息子さんの友人です。
それで息子は
一応連絡はしたんですが、会いたくないと。
As Taku explained awkwardly, Ray's father sighed and slumped his shoulders.
ずっと会ってなかったそうですが、今回はどういった要件で？
Yeah, what's up?
いやもう息子から聞いてるかもしれませんが、私の方でちょっと借りた金が返せなくなりましてね。それを息子が払ってくれることになったものですから。
Oh, he just told us.
そのことで。
The corners of Taku's mouth twitched.
息子さんは気がついたら一方的に借金の返済を肩代わりさせられることになっていたと言ってました。
ちょっと、それどういうこと？
一方的にってどういうことよ。
This was news to Junko and Honami, who squinted dubiously.
それはまあ親子ですから血がつながってるわけですし、やっぱり家族に何か起きたら助け合うべきだと思うんですよ。しかも私父親ですから。
Yeah, today you're his dad, but like a couple years ago you weren't. So exactly. I beg your pardon. That's me. Junko and me, like we're just like, I beg your pardon. At this, Junko and Honami scowled. Likewise, Taku's expression hardened. Evidently, the guy didn't feel remotely guilty about dumping his debt on his son. If anything, he seemed to feel entitled to it.
それで、借金っていくらなの？
You guess, baby. You guess what it is.
3億です。
Oh, he just told it.
冗談でしょ？3億？それレイが全部払うってこと？
ですから親子で助け合っていこうとは思ってますよ。もちろん私も少しずつ返していきますし。
カジノ通いがやめられなくて返済できてないって聞いてるけど。
そこまでご存知なんですか。いやお恥ずかしい限りで習慣というものは変えるのがなかなか難しくてですね。
He scratched the back of his head and smiled stiffly.
最低。真面目に返す気なんて全然ないのね。
レイに払わせるのが目的なんでしょ。
そこまでは。自分で返せる分は返そうと思ってますよ。
こいつ。
His half-hearted answers were starting to wear on everyone's patience. The smoke rising from Honami and Junko began to sway ominously. Yeah, they're gonna beat you up.
閉めていい。最低なんだけどこの男。
Yeah, you about to die, bro.
落ち着け。
you about to die, homeboy.
落ち着けるわけないでしょ。こんなのと血がつながってるなんてレイがかわいそう。だからレイは縁を切ったのね。よーくわかったわ。
Those are the homies for real. You know the real one.
借金は全部自分で返しなさいよ。金輪際レイに関わらないで。レイのことは赤の他人だと思ってちょうだい。
I mean, he always was, baby.
いやそれこそ赤の他人に息子のことで口出しされてもね。
You're just the sperm donor.
この
Ooh, Junko! No, Junko! Junko looked like they were ready to deck him. Taku hastily raised both hands to stop them.
ここは病院だ。どんな理由であれ、 手を挙げることは許さんぞ。
でも
You can't fight. You can't. No. Again, Taku stopped them. Then he turned and fixed Ray's father with a stern look.
泉さん、あなたがどのように思ってようと、息子さんはあなたに会いたくないと言ってます。なので、連絡先を教えることはできません。
父親なのに。
Go home. Go home.
その代わり、そちらの連絡先を教えていただけますか。
Go home.
もし何かあったらご連絡しますから。
ええ、それなら構いませんよ。
Oh no, bro. Ray's father pulled out his cell phone and traded numbers with
では
Taku.
午後の診療もありますので、今日のところ
Yeah,
は。
so if you could leave.
はい、
Kick it.
お邪魔しました。
Go.
皆さん、息子のお知り合いなんです
Yeah,
よ
okay,
ね。
yeah. What do you want?
いろいろと問題があるというか、出来の悪い息子ですが、これからもよろしくお願いします。
You better leave before I choke you out.
では、私はこれで。
Trip you on the way out.
泉さん、
Right as he bowed and turned to leave, Taku stopped him.
今一度自分のこれまでの行いを振り返った方がいいと思いますよ。
はあ。
Yeah, whatever. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. With an unctuous smile, Ray's father walked out.
ちょっともう本当になんだろ
It's okay, I understand. I feel you, Junko. I feel you. The instant the door shut, Junko started screaming like they just couldn't take it. But I'd be like, let me choke him out. I'm a choker. The Takasato Gumi gonna get their money right now. Right now they gonna get their money because he's gonna die.
本当になんであの最低男がレイの父親なの信じらんない
Indeed.
だって3億ってそれをレイが肩代わりどうしてそんなことってあるの許されるの
ここじゃ高里組そのものがルールだからな。奴らは金さえ戻ってくれば何でもいいんだ。
Taku muttered bitterly while the other two raged.
でもそれじゃレイがあんまりじゃないレイは父親とは縁を切ったって言ってたのに
I know.
よりにもよってこんな形で
I know.
やだなんだか泣けてきちゃう
Me too. Me too, boo.
やめてよ私までもらい泣きしちゃうでしょもうどうしてレイばっかり嫌な目に遭うのよ
Junko and I are one. Like really, it's like stop. Don't do it.
私の怪我なんて犬に噛まれたようなもんじゃない
me, Junko's really. Junko understands me. Their fury turned to sorrow and they both burst into tears. Taku clapped his hands together to get everyone's
ほらほら、
attention.
もう午後の診療が始まるぞ。
先生は悲しくないのレイがこんなことになって
I know.
悲しいに決まってるだろう。それに一番
It's
辛い
it's
のは
true.
俺たちじゃなくて
Taku's right. No. At this, Junko and Honami's tears dried.
そうよね一番辛いのはレイなのよね私たちが大泣きしたって
Mhm.
何の意味もないのよね
レイが何も言ってこない限り今まで通りでいた方がいい。多分な。
Mhm.
うん分かったそうする
Sniffling, Junko left the building and Honami headed down the hall to get things prepped for reopening. Now it was just the two of us. Taku started to say something to me, but ultimately went back to the exam room without another word. In the end, I never went to roost that night. Instead, I went back to my apartment and drank alone. Ugh. Bum. Not the deadbeat, slow damage. Man, deadbeat fathers, am I right? We're here. The necklace is here. That night, I had a dream. Not a nightmare, but a dream about my father. His face was too blurry to see clearly, but I knew it was him. Honestly, I could count the number of times we'd spoken on one hand. My dream was centered on the memory of one of those times. I couldn't be sure when or where it took place. My father was talking to me with a hard look on his face. I didn't understand. I couldn't hear a word he was saying. Just silence. But when I tried to explain, he turned and left without waiting for a response. My dad never gave a care. I couldn't remember. I couldn't think of a good word. My dad never gave a care about me. That's why I can remember what he looked like. Then I sensed a presence and looked over to find his silhouette standing there again. Next to him was a smaller figure. The small shadow was blurry, like watercolor paint, and it was hard to distinguish any human features. But when I tried to get a better look, fear suddenly set in. Don't. I mean, the implication is that it's his mom, right? Because anytime he thinks about his mom, he gets like freaked out. He gets like a panic attack. Yeah. So I'm assuming it's his mom. Or his sister? Wait, didn't she? I don't know. The implication is that, first of all, Toa is uncomfortable around women. So, you know, he probably has some trauma related to his mother. Or sister, but apparently his sister died, so I don't know. My eyes snapped open and I pushed myself up from the sofa. My heart was beating unnaturally fast. That wasn't my usual nightmare, but it was still an unpleasant dream. As I gasped for breath, I pressed a hand on my forehead. As my pulse slowed, the sound of the newscaster on TV slowly came into focus. Exhaling heavily, I reached out and grabbed my pack of smokes off the coffee table. The news was covering an attack at Takasato HQ. Apparently, there were fatalities, and it wasn't clear whether all the executives were alive. When you think of it, the roost manager had mentioned that the Takasato Gumi had received an anonymous threat. I lit my cigarette and watched on TV for a while. Then my phone started to buzz on the edge of the sofa. It was a call from Taku. This isn't good. Oh boy. With that, he promptly hung up. I forgot, yeah, we work for the Gumis, for the Takasato Gumi. After I crushed my newly lit cigarette in the ashtray, I rose to my feet, got dressed, and left. There we go. When I arrived at the medical ward on the second floor, I found the beds filled with patients. One sat in a chair while Taku administered first aid. When I walked in, he looked up from his work.
Yes,
yes, he did.
大量の怪我人が出て、うちも可能な範囲で対応することになったんだが。
Where on earth is Ray?
で、ホナミたちには連絡してこっちに向かってもらってる。とは悪いんだな。例の家に行って様子を見てきてくれないか。昨日のこともあったから少し心配でな。
Yesterday, Taku had called Ray to tell him that his father had showed up at the clinic. Naturally, Ray had refused to meet with him. Under normal circumstances, it would be no big deal, but right now, he wasn't the most emotionally stable. Chances were high he was stressed to hell. I nodded and Taku smiled, relieved. Let's go find our boy. After that, I left the building and headed to Ray's place. Oh boy. Arriving at the condo building, I unlocked the door and went in. I remember the password from watching Ray punch it in last time. Ooh, I have fear. Okay. This fear is different. It's a different fear. Then I took the elevator to the 6th floor and walked to 606. Is that on purpose? I rang the doorbell, but there was no response. So I pulled out my phone, called his number, then pressed an ear to the door. I let it ring for quite a while, but didn't hear any sounds from inside. Thus, I determined that he probably wasn't home. I shot him a quick message asking him where he was. All that remained was to comb through his usual haunts one by one. With a small sigh, I headed back to the elevator. As I was walking down Cole Street, I spotted AG standing on the sidewalk, playing with his phone.
Oh, Toa-san.
You know, sometimes AG's, if it's not Igarashi, it's AG. AG's my other ray of light. I've learned to see AG in a better light. Have mercy. Okay.
事務所が襲われたらしいな。
そうなんですよ。もう大変なことになっちゃって。
He grimaced.
今情報収集しながら各所へ連絡を入れてました。あ、榊さんと遠野さんは無事です。
I don't care about Tono.
どうも2人を狙っての襲撃だったみたいなんですけど、失敗ですね。で、トアさんはこれからどこかへお出かけですか？
Somewhere.
レイを探してる。
I'm looking for Ray.
レイさん？
There we go. He blinked at me in
ど
surprise.
うかしたんですか？
Yeah.
連絡がつかないし、家にもいない。
あらら。そういえば、お父さんの借金を肩代わりするとかなんとかって聞きましたけど。
Help a homie out, AG.
レイは父親を嫌ってる。だから借金を肩代わりする話も嫌がってる。
そりゃそうですよね。僕だってたとえ肉親だろうと借金の肩代わりは嫌ですもん。しかも借金って結構な額でしたよね。レイさん、追い詰められてる感じでした？
Apparently, like.
だとしたら、もしかするとあれに駆り出されてるかもしれませんね。
AG, give me the tea. He shot me a meaningful look. Come on, AG. At this, he beckoned me over with one finger.
あのですね。
I leaned in and he started to whisper.
公にはしてないんですが、実は高里組が
I knew it. I was like, it's
掛
probably
け試合がある。
it's probably like you know, an underground fight. Like, you know, I was like, there's no way, like, you know.
掛け試合。
はい。マネーマッチって言ってデスマッチの仲間みたいなものなんですけど、マネーマッチの方は観客が金をかけるんです。
Yeah, I had a feeling. I was just like, the foreshadowing was leading to it. I was like, there's no way. I was like, that's a lot of money. You know, I was like, that's a ton of money. And I was like, there's no way he can get it normally. It's either gonna be like, you know, when it comes to like these kinds of things, it's like, 1, prostitution's an option. 2, fights, underground fights. And then 3 would be to work for them forever. Kind of like how Taku is working for Tono, so like that's why in Taku's route he has to essentially like follow whatever Tono says, even though he didn't really have to. But you know, that kind of thing. It's like you work for them kind of type of sort of situation. Or the option 4, you throw your dad to the sharks, you know, call it good. You know what I'm saying? So, anyway. Yeah, I was like, there's no way it's not like a fight club situation.
勝てば出場者には賞金が出ます。でも、もし負けたら、
Is he like, are these like literally like death, like actual death
その時
matches?
は死が待ってます。マネーマッチがデスマッチと大きく違うのは、金銭と生死が密接に絡んでいるところ
Oh
です。
no. Oh no. I remember the mystery bruises on Ray's face.
デスマッチで有名になると高里組にスカウトされるって話知ってますか？
Yeah, Ray is like really famous. Even with a criminal record, if you made it into the all-power of Takasato Gumi, you were set for the foreseeable future. Thus, a fair number of fighters took part, hoping to get
あの
recruited.
話、半分は本当ですけど、半分は嘘なんです。デスマッチでスカウトされてもマネーマッチへ流される方が多いんですよ。負けたら死ぬ試合なんて普通に参加者を募集しても集まらないに決まってますし、まあ勝てば賞金がもらえるんですけどね。
Ray.
だから追い詰められた負債者が出ることはよくあります。借金返済をかけて。
AG shrugged
お
casually.
前が車で運んでた荷物の中にもいたのか？
何がですか？
マネーマッチの元参加者。
Oh. He caught my drift and his lips curled in a
さ
smile.
あ、どうでしょうね。
I think it's best we not know. It's better we don't know, you know. After that, I parted ways with AG and went back to searching Cole Street, but I couldn't find Ray anywhere. Takasata would be under attack. And then la 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 la. Yeah, it's just the attacks. Man, this is rough. Right around the time I was thinking of heading back to the clinic, I got a message from Taku asking for an update. I explained that Ray wasn't at his condo. Since it was lunchtime back at the clinic, we decided to continue the conversation over a meal. Alright. Oh, not the cafe. Not this peaceful cafe where, like, a homie's in deep doo-doo, you know. Arriving at Yanagawa Cafe, I met up with Taku. After we were seated, we ordered the honey toast. Man, I'm kind of hungry. He grumbled to himself as he tore into his honey toast like a starving animal. But I could tell he wasn't angry so much as worried. His smoke didn't shift. That's what I'm saying. Lazily, I cut up my toast and popped a bite in my mouth. Oh yeah. Should've just let him perish. You know, do both. Join the deathmatch and let him perish. Taku slurped his coffee, then he let out a melancholy sigh. I'd be pissed. I'd tell him to throw him in the ocean. I swallowed my bite of toast and dropped my fork onto the plate. Then I grabbed my mug of coffee and took a sip. Oh yeah. Okay, so he doesn't.
高里組が秘密裏に行っている賭け試合で出場者が勝てば賞金が手に入る。そんな試合に進んで出るやつなんていないから後がない負債者が出場することが多いらしい。
レイがそれに出てるんじゃないか。
I mean, what else was he doing? You know, his dad can't do nothing. Like, I can sit on his dad and he'd break. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I don't even weigh that much. You know, there isn't really much to me, you know. And I could sit on that man, he would break in half. You know, like, no way. No, even if he tried to like slap Ray, Ray is humongous. Ray would just like flick him on the head, he would break. You know, so no way. It was like his dad beating him up. No.
誰がそんなこと
？Age. Yeah, it's accurate. It's from AG. Oh. That means it's probably true for the most part. Taku stuffed a big piece of toast into his mouth and chewed pensively for a while, gazing at his hands.
だとしたら相当まずいな。今すぐにでもレイを探し出して止めないと。エイジに探ってもらうことはできないのか？
Yeah. Even if Ray was like about the whole thing or whatever, like, you know, it's rough.
聞いてみる。
頼む。俺もできる限り探してみる。
Man, this whole chapter is just so sad. Like, you know, like with Taku's, it's just like panic, you know, stress, panic, panic, stress, stress, panic, 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 stress, stress. But like, Ray's is just so sad. Like, all the stress went to Kirimizu because it was like, we were like, what's going on? And now it's just sad. It's like depressed the whole time. Because we're not really like seeing Ray, right? Like with Taku, it's like he was at least often present, if that makes sense. So at least that's how it feels, you know. I don't know if that's the reality or it's just my perception, you know. Nodding, I started to light a cigarette and I noticed him staring at me with a grave expression on his face.
なんだよ。
いや、前にも聞いたと思うが、お前レイが危ないって時でもやっぱり焦るような気持ちにはならないのか？
Why y'all like this? Toe literally has like trauma and probably a lot of like nerve damage. Like, you know, it's complicated. You know, I took a drag, then exhaled slowly.
見殺しにする気はない。
いや、それは分かってるんだがな。もっとこう、なんつうか、今すぐ助けたいみたいな気持ちはないのか。レイはマネーマッチなんて危険なものに参加してるかもしれないんだぞ。
Oh, his hands are so pretty. Sorry.
あいつが何も言わないからな。
His pinky's a little fat though, that's kind of funny. He's got a little funny pinky.
どういうことだ？
レイが俺たちに助けてほしいと思ってるのかどうかわからないだろう。
I mean, it's true.
助けられたくないってことはないだろう。身に覚えのない借金を背負わされた上に
Yeah, but what can you do?
命までかけることになっちまってるんだぞ。
Yeah, you know, Toa kind
だ
like
としても本人の口から聞かない限りわからない。
お前。
Okay, Taco, but you have to understand, like, you've heard his brown shot me disapproving.
レイの性格を考えればわかるだろう。周りに迷惑をかけたくないと
Okay, but
か、
how are we supposed to
そういう理由で
know?
話さないに
Like,
決まってる。
I'm supposed to be psychic, Taku? You can't help. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna go on my little soapbox for a second. You can't really help people when they decline help so vehemently the way Ray does, because Ray has like hard self-destructive tendencies, and that's why this situation with his father was like a break. You know, it was like his breaking point essentially, and it's making him, you know, he can't regulate his emotions, he can't regulate his feelings. You can tell that like he's not well, even when he's hiding, like trying to hide it. But Toa's right, it's like we can't do anything when it's like I don't know what he's doing, I don't know where he is, he's like not saying anything, and it's like I can run around, you know. For example, it's like, what if he left the country, right? It's like, what if I ran around? I mean, he can't, but you know, he can't because of the debt, but you know what I'm saying. It's just like, you know, why? It's just like, even me who has like sometimes my over empathy goes, and it's like let's do it, right? But I mean, sometimes all you can do is just support from the back, because you can't do anything. You know, what am I supposed to do with Ray and his death matches? Like, I don't even know where those money matches are. Like, I don't know anything. I don't know anything. AJ just told me, like, oh, there are things called money matches. Like, what am I supposed to do with that information? It's like, okay, at least I have an idea of what he might be doing, but like, where am I gonna go to, Taku? Like, I'm gonna run to like any weird place that might have underground fighting rings? Like, I don't know where those are. I don't hang there. You know, it's like we have so little information, and it's just like when it comes to like people having a hard time, it's like there's only so much you can do. It's like you can't beat yourself up over it either. You know, it's like you can only do what's within your power. You know, and Toa may seem heartless, like between Taku and Ray, like they always say, it's like, don't you feel bad? Don't you feel panic? Don't you feel concerned? And it's like Toa doesn't function properly. So it's not really fair to constantly be like, don't you feel feelings? It's like Toa doesn't even remember like half his life right now, or maybe 1/3 of his life. I don't know how, I forgot how old Toa was. But yeah, this is a very realistic situation. But like, you know, Ray's exaggerated because he's like fighting in underground gangster fights for a debt that's not his. So that's the exaggerated part. But this kind of feeling of like, don't you feel concerned? It's like, of course I feel concerned, but there's only so much I can do. You know, I'm not a doctor like Taku. I'm not like a mafioso. You know, I don't have connections. I'm just, you know, Toa may have connections to the Takasata Gumi, but essentially he's just a normal person. He doesn't have superpowers. He's not psychic. The only powers he has is his powers of interrogation, you know, which only works if you talk to the person. You know, like he has to talk to the person, you know. So anyway, that's my soapbox for today.
それも本人の選択だ。仮に俺たちが強引に介入したとして、レイが嫌がったら、 迷惑をかけたくないってのは、そういうことだろ。
Exactly. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like.
じゃあ、お前はレイを助
He
ける
just
つ
said
もり
he's
は
not
ないってこと
ignoring
なの
it. Tug, I need you to listen.
レイが望むなら助ける。
なるほどな。ユーフォリアらしい答えだ。
You trying to get me upset? Because it's not gonna work. His lips curled in a sarcastic sneer. He closed his eyes, let out a heavy sigh, and looked back at
と
me.
にかく、レイと話さないことには始まらん。レイを探すぞ。いいな。
We gonna try, honey. We gonna try. I nodded, squinting, and took a drag. Slow damage. I'm so glad I can. I'm getting good at it. I'm getting good at guessing. You know. It's my one second of peace every so often. Late that night, I was lying on the sofa at my place, having a smoke when my phone started buzzing on the coffee table. I reached out, picked it up, and looked at the screen. The name I saw there made me bolt upright on reflex. It was a message from Ray. Uh-oh. Oh. Oh, we about to... That was the entire message. Oh boy, here we go. I got up, pulled on my coat, and left the building. Then I walked through the night to Ray's condo building. When I arrived, I followed the same steps as earlier that day, or more accurately, the day before, to let myself inside. Oh boy. Then I took the elevator to the 6th floor and walked to 606. I rang the doorbell, then waited. I heard the sound of the door unlocking, and it didn't open. I opened the door and went in. No sign of him. The lights were off in the hallway, but I heard a door shut quietly on the other end. Locking the front door behind me, I stepped out of my shoes, then headed down the hall. When I stepped into the dimly lit living room, I found Ray standing there. He stared at the floor, frozen stiff, like a child awaiting punishment. His face was concealed in shadow, but upon closer inspection, I could tell it was swollen. His entire vibe was more aggressive than usual. His smoke twitched and changed colors restlessly.
昼、部屋に来たの、とわでしょ?
Duh! The question was quiet and sudden. His voice was hoarse, like he hadn't spoken a word in days.
中にいたのか。
携帯電話も切って、ずっと引きこもってた。
何があった?
Yeah, what? Come on. He bit his lip, then forced his mouth open, as if to cough up the words lodged in the back of his throat.
デスマッチに行けなくなるってみんなに言った後ね。私、会いに行こうとしたの。父親に。それで、気がついたらいつの間にかクリニックの前に立ってたの。そしたらトワが来て、トワの顔見たら少し落ち着いて。
So he's not fighting. Okay. Summoning all his resolve, he looked up at me. His face crumpled like he was on the verge of tears, twisting his fresh wounds.
あのね、トワ。みんなのこと見ててほしいっていう私のお願い。聞いてくれてありがとね。
あ
あ。ありがとう。
Oh, here we go. Let's go. Oh gosh. I'm stressed. Okay, kids, we're here. Well, you asked, so.
お願いできる?
Could you do it again sometime? Whenever you have time? Okay. Let me save really quick. Just in case. In case anything goes wrong. In case anything goes wrong. Oh gosh. Okay. Yeah, this chapter is more so like really sad than anything because Ray's not doing anything. Like, if that makes it, you know what I mean? He's not even really giving in. He just keeps saying like, I won't do the death matches. I can't talk to my father. I'll just pay the debt. But where is he gonna pay this debt? And then he's not showing up to work at the clinic. You know, he's calling out of roost like randomly. It's like he is falling apart and he can't handle the situation, like any situation right now. So, okay. Let's see what we can do. Probing? Let's answer clearly.
Negative. できない。
そっか。
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure of the question. Okay. Is that really the right way to answer? Taku and the others are all worried about you.
私は平気よ。
Yeah, I had a feeling they would be, but I'm fine. Lies.
Negative. けど。
You sure don't look fine to me. Okay. Okay. We'll try. I'm not sure. If you don't speak up, none of us can do anything.
何?
About what? Okay, let's try this now. I didn't want to do it right away. Literally, anyone would think you were hiding
そうか
something.
な。
It's a long story.
Negative.
I don't know, it's
お前
hard. Are you hiding something? He's obviously.
それで
Don't you want to talk about something?
え?
It says
Positive.
hesitant, right?
不安か
It's written all over your face.
そっか。
Is it really? Okay, let's try that.
ああ
Couldn't be more obvious, but that's all right. I get it.
あ
Yeah, right. He's killing me. Okay.
レイは何に悩んでる
What is he worried about? I don't think it's that one yet. I think it's this one.
借金
No? Ah, darn. Okay.
金はどうするんだ
Where are you gonna get the money?
あ。それはどうにかする。
It must be off
気になるな
base. I'm definitely off base. Okay, so it was his father first. Because I never know, like, it's an order. It's the order, you know?
父親には会いたくないんだよな 本人に責任を取らせるのが一番早い
わかってる。でもどうしても会いたくないの。あいつ、私が男が好きだってわかったら、
I had
狂
a
ってるって
feeling.
言って家から追い出したのよ。
I kind of guessed that.
二度と会いたくない。むしろ殺してやりたいくらいだわ。
でもこのままだとお前が借金の肩代わりをして
Yeah.
最悪死ぬぞ
It's so difficult, though. It's so hard. Let's keep going.
他には
Yeah, there's gotta. I mean, it's not the only thing. He's like stressed out over everything. There's gotta be more, right? You're being awfully considerate today. Let's try this
ポジティ
one.
ブなんてな
I'm allowed to be considerate sometimes, aren't I? I guess so.
ごめん。
Sorry to make you come all the way out here.
あ
No problem. It's kind of a relief just having someone around, you know. Let's joke a little, because he is so depressed. Even I'm better than nobody, right?
も
Jeez, you don't have to talk like that. Okay, let's try.
あ うん
I know something's going on, just admit it.
う。ねえ。
Ah! No,
ネガ
let
ティブ
I can't. I don't know what to do
Yeah.
about you. If you have something to say, then just say it. Ah, darn
レ
it.
イは何に悩んだ
Did I get? Oh, thank goodness. I was just like, hello. Okay, so it's one of these two. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
借金
We're here.
借金のことだけど
借金。
この間お前の父親がクリニックに来た借金のことも聞いた向こうに期待できないならこっちから動かなきゃどうにもならないだろう
Mm-hmm.
かなり追い詰められてるな
Biting his lip, Ray stared down at the floor, his fists shaking.
父親の連絡先はタクが聞いてる
もしあの男に会うなら1対1じゃない方がいいわ。
We can help you with
周りに人がいるところで会いたい。じゃないと私自分が何するか
Yeah.
わかんないから
We got you, boo. We can do it. He paused to take a slow, pained breath.
あいつに会いに行くわ。でもその時はトワも来て
It's gonna make me
お願い。
like, it's gonna make me so sad. I nodded and the tension in Ray's face eased ever so
タクはいい
slightly.
のか
タクはクリニックがあるしそこまで振り
I'm
回せ
busy
ない
too,
わ。
right? No, just okay. I'm busy too.
分かった
Ugh. He took a deep breath, filling his lungs, then looked straight at me.
よろしくお願いします。
Yeah, he really does. He's got a lot going on. He bowed his head, his chapped lips trembling. Does Ray's dad even know what he looks like now? Like, you know what I mean? We decided to arrange a meetup date at a later time. After I got home, I sent Taco a message. I explained that Ray had invited me over, that we talked, and that he agreed to meet with his father. It was so late, I figured Taku would probably be asleep, but instead, he responded immediately, informing me that he would get in touch with Ray's father first thing tomorrow morning to ask about his schedule. I tossed my phone onto the coffee table, popped a few sleeping pills, and washed them down with a swig of booze. Then I laid myself down on the sofa. Tonight, I felt like sleeping for a good, long while. Quietly, I closed my eye, took a deep breath, and exhaled. As I repeated this pattern, my consciousness began to dissolve into the darkness. Slow damage. The next morning, Taku shook me awake.
泉さんに電話したぞ。ロイヤルシーサイドホテルで働いていて、
He works
12
at a
時から昼休み
hotel.
だから、その時間にロビーへ行けば話せるそうだ。
Oh, lordy, okay. The Royal Seaside Hotel was the same place Ray and I had gone for the dessert buffet.
わかった。
俺は同行できないが、お前は今日休みだからな。例の都合がつくようなら、
Ray does not
一緒
want
に
to
行って
go
こい。
alone, so
あ
sure. That's my boy. After he left the room, I sent a message to Ray. He agreed to meet up at the hotel at noon. It was still early, but nonetheless, I got dressed and left the building. Here we go, kids. Having arrived at the hotel early, I was sitting in the lobby having a leisurely smoke when I saw Ray walk in. He glanced around, spotted me, and made a beeline straight for me.
トアの方が早く来てるなんて意外。待った。ごめんね。
Oh, he's still so sweet.
いや、
Ray sat down on the sofa across from me. His expression was as stiff as his movements, and all of it radiated nervous tension. He stared down directly at his feet. His bruises looked a lot darker now than the last time I saw him. Normally, Ray would start making small talk right about now, but he wasn't exactly in the mood today. So we sat there in silence, waiting for our VIP to arrive.
すいません。
Crook. A sudden boast from behind made Ray flinch. He whirled around to find his father standing there with slouched shoulders and his usually ingratiating smile.
あの病院にいたスタッフの方ですよね。ということは、
Ray's father gaze shifted from me to Ray. Instantly, Ray jumped to his feet, his lips trembling, his face white as a sheet.
私。
No, you can do it. You can sock him once. You can sock him once. Stumbling over his words, he pursed his lips together and took off running. Before either of us could stop him, he dashed out through the front entrance. With a heavy sigh, Ray's father watched him go. After he was gone, the man plopped down onto the sofa where his son was sitting moments prior.
なんというか、すみませんね。
Excuse me?
せっかく来ていた
You
だい
need
た
to
の
get out of
に、
my face.
どうしようもない息子で。
Get out of my face. Who do I hate more, Tono or Ray's father? Ray's father. At least Tono's a gangster. Okay? At least he's a gangster. Ray's father's just a deadbeat. If Junko or Honami were here, they probably would have punched his lights out for that. There was no real point in me talking to this guy without Ray present, but I decided it couldn't hurt to chat for a bit. He kept nervously stealing glances at my
あんた
face.
息子に相当嫌われてるみたいだけど、自覚はあるのか？
ああ、まあ、そうですね。借金のことが、やっぱりね。
It's not just the debt fool.
嫌われてるのは借金の話を
Oh
するより
yeah,
前
you
から
tell him, boo. You tell him.
ズバッと言いますね。まあ、レイが子供の頃からいろいろとありましたから、仕方がないことなんでしょうな。
Wow, this dude like definitely has like he's just like no responsibility, but then it's like I have a son that I can put my responsibilities on.
それよりさっきから気になってることを聞いてもいいでしょうか。
If he asks if Toa is Ray's boyfriend, I'd choke him out. He leaned forward and inspected my face like it was a petri dish. Oh, okay. He's gonna ask about Toa's face.
病院で会った時はマスクをしていたから気づかなかったんですが、あなた高里組の組長の息子さんじゃ。
知ってるのか？
How do you know that?
やっぱりそうだったんですね。組長さんのことはご愁傷様です。
Throw him in the fountain. He bowed deeply, then looked up and smiled.
いやね、なんとなく似てるなとは思ってたんですけどね。
Hold on. The fakeness, like want to pick up my scissors and stab him like through the screen right now. Like that's woo.
何しろ最後に見たのはあなたがまだこんなに小さかった時だったので自信がなくて。
He held his hand out to indicate the height of a child. Oh, that's right, because they did know each other.
実は私、あなたのご両親と少しだけ仕事をしていたことがあったんですよ。
No one cares. No one cares.
仕事？何？
Yeah, like what?
まあ、いろいろです。ちょっとした取引のような感じでね。
He mumbled vaguely, then looked up suddenly as if he just remembered something.
そうだ。組長の息子さんなら話が早い。
I am not
すみ
clearing
ま
you of
せん。お
debt.
名前何でしたっけ？もうあまりにも昔のことで。
とわでいい。
とわさん。こんなお願いをするのは本当にぶしつけだとは思うんですが。
It's not for you.
例の知り合いということであれば。
The favors are not for you.
借金の件、どうにかなりませんかね。
I could cut off your leg, is what I can do. He peered up at me probingly, then curled his lips in a faint smile. I knew from the outset that he was a leech, but it was rare to meet a guy who continually outdid himself. Snorted.
俺もレイと同じで、親父は他人も同然だ。死んでも何とも思わないし、顔も思い出せない。
いやいや、そうは言っても、親子じゃ組長さんのことは残念ですが、きっと息子のあなたが高里組に頼めば向こうも簡単に。
俺には関係ない。
At my tone, he recoiled, then forced a smile as a defense mechanism.
じゃあ、せめてまた昔の仕事をさせてもらいたいんですよ。
This explains a few things.
なかなか見入りのいい仕事だったんでね。そうすれば借金もすぐに返せると思うんです。
仕事の内容は？
それはそのちょっと
Spit it out. Flustered, his gaze started to wander.
自分で言いに行けよ。
I shot him down flatly, then rose from the sofa. There was no point in talking to him any longer.
待ってくださいよ、トワさん。
I ignored the voice calling after me, and headed for the exit. Outside, I found Ray standing a short distance away. He stuffed his hands into his pockets and shrank into his coat. As I approached, he noticed me and looked up sharply.
ごめんね。急に抜けちゃって。
He stared at the ground and looked deeply guilty.
あいつと話した？
少しな。
何を話したの？
俺が組長の息子だってことを知ってた。俺の両親と仕事したことがあって。
He looked away, his expression conflicted.
知ってたのか？
Did you?
あの男が高里組と仕事してるのはね。内容までは知らないけど。
Mercy.
俺から組に借金のことを頼んでほしいってさ。
あいつ、そんなこと言ったの？
Of course he did.
ああ。それか昔やってた仕事をやらせてくれって。見入りがいいって言ってたな。
何それ、最低。本当にプライドのかけら
Apparently
もない。
not. He had no qualms, man. This dude's a bum. Scowling, he bit his thumbnail.
本当、最低の父親なのよ。早く死ねばいいのにっていつも思ってた。
You can still throw him in the ocean, baby. You can do it. No, I will close my eyes. He exhaled and a self-depreciating smile crept up on his lips.
不思議よね。じゃあ本当に死んでもいいのかって言われたら、いいって思ってるはずなのに、よくわからなくなるの。今はもう自分の気持ちもわからなくて、あいつのことが大嫌いで会いたくないってことだけははっきりしてるんだけど、それでもやっぱりよくわからない。うまく考えがまとまらない。これが血がつながってるってことなのかな。
Mood.
だとしたら
Praise
こん
the
な血
mood.
いらないのに。
Muttering under his breath, he fixed me with a melancholy look. His lips curled into a pained
今日は
smile.
もう帰るね。タクにも謝っておいてくれる？せっかくいろいろ気を使ってくれたのにごめんねって。トアも来てほしいって頼んだのは私なのに逃げちゃってごめん。でもありがとう。
Ah, poor thing. Then he turned and walked off without another word. Slow damage. Yeah. Let's go, baby. Ugh. Man, it's rough in the club. Man, there's just nothing good about that dude either. Like, he's not sorry. Like, he's not. He's just, he's in debt and he knows the gang is gonna cut him up into pieces. And he's like, if I don't ask my son for money, I'm screwed. The next day, Ray called out from work yet again. When Taku came to wake me up in the morning, I told him about what happened yesterday. Taku listened to the whole thing, then let out a frustrated sigh.
聞けば聞くほどつくづくどうしようもない親父だな。それに結局レイは本人と会わなかった。
It really is, it really is.
なかなか難しいもんだ。
レイの父親が言ってた俺の両親とやってた仕事のこと
Yeah, Toa doesn't
何か
remember
知らないか
nothing, so. Taku first met me when I was a kid, so I figured he knew my parents too. I knew he probably wouldn't have all the details, but wanted to ask anyway. He furrowed his brow, averted his gaze, and put a hand to his chin in contemplation.
高里組を介して儲かる仕事なんてどう考えても綺麗な話じゃないだろう
Give me the
な。
tea, Taku.
具体的なことまではわからんが、どちらにしろそんなことをお前が高里組に頼んだとしても向こうが信用するわけがない。しかし他力本願な上に反省もしないとなると
Yeah.
相当厄介だな。
He shook his head sadly, then suddenly glanced over at the clock on the wall.
お、そろそろ時間だ。支度したら降りてこいよ。
With that, he left the room. After that, I finished my afternoon work shift like usual. Then once it came time for the night shift, Arata and Honami showed up. In the staff room, I asked them about Ray, but neither of them knew where he was. Back at my apartment, I changed clothes and decided to go to roost. Oh gosh, free exploration. Oh man, it's rough. This chapter's rough, man. It's not easy. It's not easy to really figure out like what, like how to go about this. You know what I'm saying? It's rough in the club. Okay. All right. Come on, baby. Okay, so let's see what we gotta do. So deathmatch area now. No. Hagoita. So Hagoita District C, Tajima, Nightlife District. I guess I'll wander more. Should I pass through here? Someone there. No business. I have no business. Okay, so it's these essentially. Okay. This is the okay. So Roost is the last place we'll go. We'll go. Let's go in order. Cole. Man, this is hard. Otaku. Taku.
Oh.
Hmm. Otsu Toa. Shouldn't you be at work? Or are you on break?
そうだな。
Yeah, I'm on break. We don't have many patients today, so I thought I'd step outside for a change of pace. Okay, let's talk about it.
な
Did something happen? You know Onoyama-san? Woman in her early 50s with a chronic illness but otherwise really healthy? She always brings little treats to the clinic, and she was friendly with Ray and Junko and all them. Well, oh, well, this is awkward. She passed away. Got a call from her family just now. We were getting her chronic illness under control, and I was convinced she'd have plenty of years left, but boom, heart attack out of nowhere. Might be weird for me to say this as her physician, but I just can't believe it.
ネガティブに。
Everybody dies at some point. It's just a matter of time when. Well, yeah, I get that, but sorry, I shouldn't have brought this up with you. Pain. It's fine.
それは
Death is tragic, whether it's an animal or a human being. I'll never grow numb to it.
No.
Ah, interesting.
うん
Anyway, I should get going. All right. Okay, let's see.
悪いな
Thanks for letting me vent. I promise I won't let it affect my interactions with the other patients. Good call. Okay.
うん
What's wrong? Did you have a question for me?
Yeah.
Not really. Well, alright then. Alright. Let's... Where are we? I was like, where are we going? Abaro. Okay, let's go to Abaro. Okay, we'll just go in order. I gotta get my words, you know, for when I interrogate. Ooh. Eiji! Hmm?
Oh.
What the? Toa-san, good evening. Okay, let's talk.
よ
This is an odd place for you to be, my friend. My friend!
いやいや
I beg your pardon? You're here too, aren't you? What are you doing here in the depths of this particular alley? Oh, looking for a... looking for a hookup? I'm just wandering. What about you? Killing time, that's all. I'm meeting up with someone a little later.
ー
Toa-san, can I ask you something?
えー
Sure.
と
I was just texting a friend of mine and I started wondering, is there anything you absolutely cannot eat under any circumstances? Oh, interesting. Make a joke. Answer. I think it's answer,
Positive.
right? I think it's that. Well, I try to avoid any sweet beans when
という
possible.
ことは
Huh? You mean Azuki beans? Yeah. Wow. I never would have guessed that Azuki beans were your kryptonite. Though I know you don't generally eat a lot of dessert
That's it.
foods. I don't hate dessert in general, I just don't actively seek it out. I see. Incidentally, I can't eat pickles myself.
よし
Ooh. Hehe, that was a fun little bit of Toa-san trivia. Well worth my time, I'd say.
なるほど
Azuki beans of all things. I should write that down somewhere. Uh-oh, my time's almost up. Thank you for everything, Toa-san. No problem.
あ
Shall I recommend you to a high-quality Azuki dish so that you can overcome your food aversion?
いや
No. Wow, that was fast. You really hate Azuki, don't you? Oh yeah, for sure. Alright, so next we get, because we don't need this, 1, 2, 3... Okay, so it's just 3. Okay, Nightlife District. Oh man. You know, the exploration kind of helps when it's just like, dang, I'm so sad.
ドアじゃねえか
Oh, is it Sakaki? Oh yes. He like really puts me through it because it's just like he acts like he's nice, but he's still a gangster, you know? Never thought I'd see you
別
here.
に
Me, it's more of a surprise to see you here. That's not true. I like to walk around and slap a little motivation back. Oh, little motivation back into some of these lazy sloths. Lately, more and more women have been entering this line of work. Used to be that you'd have to search far and wide, but now they're everywhere you look. All different types, I tell ya. Creates a lot more hassle on my end. Stealing from the cash register, eloping with clients, seducing other employees. You get the picture, but that's all kiddie stuff. The other day, we had a girl who lost her marbles and tried to force her client into lover's suicide in the middle of the damn work day. Oh no. Oh boy.
な
What are your thoughts on all that? He's playing it off, but it's obvious he wants an answer. No response.
どうかな
Those problems aren't exactly exclusive to women. You don't think so? Well, I suppose not.
いいか
For every action, there's always an explanation. I mean, he ain't wrong. It may be crummy, but it is. And I do understand, but I'm trying to run a business here. I'm not a doctor or a school counselor. I can't sit around and listen all day. Frankly, I'm trying to avoid any and all needless hassle. Okay, let's see.
よし
Anyway, I gotta go see you around. What else you got? If you ever need anything, I've always got your back. Cool.
お前
Have you ever paid a visit to one of those?
興味ない
Nah, no need. I see. Well, if it's not your thing, then that's it. Okay, bye. Bye, bestie. Okay, so we're Nightlife. Oh, Tajima. Okay. To Tajima's! Let's go visit the old lady. Oh, it's Igarashi! Oh, Toa-san, hi! Oh, that's a pleasant surprise. Are you here to buy snacks? Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. I didn't know you bought snacks. I kind of figured you didn't like them. I've been coming here for years and years. It's a tradition. I didn't know that. So tell me, which are your favorites? Okay, hoping for an answer. No, we got an answer. I need him to give me words. All of them. I just buy stuff at random. What? Really? What's your process like? I want to see you in action. Like this? Wow, so you really just walk up and grab a handful of whatever, but are you really going to buy that much? Word. Okay. I usually give most of it to Ray. That makes sense. Okay. Well, I finished my shopping, so I better go. Okay. Toa-san, you better get a move on before the old lady snaps at you. Good point. What's up? Nothing. I still can't believe I bumped into you here of all places. Okay. I love Igarashi. Okay. I think this is the last one, and then we go to Roost. Woo! Oh, what a journey. What a journey. What a journey indeed. Woo! Okay. Have I ever been here? At least not on this screen. Not this background. Rows of high-rise buildings on a clean, polished street. Welcome to Hakuita Street in District C. Located at the center of the city, District C is home to all kinds of Shinkoumi's government buildings. Those blessed with wealth choose to live here. The street is lined with ultra-modern high-rise office buildings. During the day, office workers flood the sidewalks, but at night, there's next to no foot traffic. So quiet, it's nigh unrecognizable as part of Shinkoumi. Travel west on the main street and you'll find an upper-class residential area with luxury condos and single-family homes. This district contains the Shinkoumi Cathedral, the Shinkoumi General Hospital, and a few other facilities you won't find anywhere else. Cross Haguita Street and head east and you'll reach the Takasato headquarters in the state. District C may have a comparatively better economy and lower crime rates, but it's also the base of operations for the local Yakuza. I knew, I was like, it's gotta be Inada. You again? Yeah. Did you know, 2 days ago the Takasato office was attacked? And I hear they did a lot of damage too. Several dead, though all the execs are alive. Apparently they received a phone call warning them in advance. Still no word about the culprit. But I guess you already knew about it. The recession's only getting worse. More and more people are sleeping on the streets or living paycheck to paycheck, but some districts are different. District B's casino resorts are full of rich people, and District C's upper-class residential areas are prospering. Meanwhile, District A is full of poverty and crime. The gap is insane. Basic forms of body art are starting to become trendy. I hear you can get it all done within a day. Simple and affordable, but not all body artists have skills or good intentions. Pick the wrong one and you're heading for the hospital. Just be sure to do your research ahead of time. Did you know? Rumor has it there are secret prize fights sponsored by the Takasato Gumi. The spectators place their bets while the competitors duke it out. The winner gets prize money, but the loser... Thing is, it's not clear where these fights are being held or if they even exist. The Takasato Gumi is clearly a dangerous organization. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. Predatory loans, arms trafficking, assassination, police corruption, not to mention child trafficking. Serious. But no one in this town dares to complain, do they? At the end of the day, this is anarchy. Closed for business. Huh? It's nothing. Closed? Okay. Alright. Okay, so I think to Roost we go. Okay, here we go. Let's see. You know, Inada is an interesting character. I don't know, like I know very little about him. Like he has yet to reveal much of anything about himself, so I'm curious if he ever will, but you know. Alright. To roast! Let's go, go, go! Let's see what we can get. This chapter feels so long. Like you know.
Toa-kun, 久しぶりだね。
Hi, manager. When I walked to the counter and sat down, the manager struck up a conversation.
何にする?
What will you have?
お任せで。
Surprise me. Whiskey. He swiftly grabbed a glass and filled it with ice and whiskey. Yeah, let's do.
どうぞ。
どうも。
Oh boy. I took the glass and had a sip.
嫌なことは続くって言うけど、
And it rains,
最
it
近は本当にいろ
pours.
いろ起こるね。レイ君も店をずっと休んでるし、連絡も取れないし。
Ray.
こっちも休んでるのか。
うん。だから、レイ君にボディアートを頼みたいって話もちょこちょこ来てるんだけど、断るしかなくてね。
Normally, the manager maintained a perfect poker face, but today his eyebrows drooped sadly.
レイ君のこと少し聞いたけど、難しいよね。お金の問題って。他人を助けてあげられるほど、みんな裕福じゃないからね。
True.
そうだな。
After I drank about half my whiskey, I looked over at him with a question on my mind.
店長。
ん？
マネーマッチって知ってるか？
ああ、うん。少しだけ聞いたことがあるよ。どこかでお金をかけるデスマッチが開催されていて、殺し合いを娯楽として楽しんでるって。本当かどうかは知らないけど、高里組ならやっててもおかしくないとは思ったな。でも、急にどうしたの？トワ君がそんなことを聞いてくるなんて珍しいね。
Well, my man's of the moment is, we need to dig up some information. I looked down at my hands for a moment of
もしかして、
contemplation.
レイ君のこと？
I looked up at him wordlessly. He took my silence for a yes, and his sorrow
そん
deepened.
な。
I sighed and swirled the contents of my
可能
glass.
性があるってだけだ。まだわからない。
でも、莫大な借金を返すためには十分にあり得る話だよね。レイ君はデスマッチ慣れもしてるし。
He paused, ruminating.
トワ君、僕ね、たまにレイ君って自殺願望があるんじゃないかって
That
思う時
was
がある
sudden.
んだ。
But you know what? Yeah. That wouldn't surprise me, actually.
自殺願望。
He
レイ君の
nodded.
趣味はボディアートとデスマッチでしょ。ボディアートに関しては他人の体に対する創作の価値は見出しているようだけど、自分の体にはないって言ってる。デスマッチも楽しんでるみたいだけど、ひどい怪我をしてくる時もあるし。そんなレイ君を見ていると、なんとなく自分の体を嫌ってるんじゃないかって感じることがあるんだ。
That would make a lot of sense. Well, Ray has kind of hinted at that this whole time, actually. Because Ray was bullied a lot for looking feminine. But I don't know if Ray dislikes looking feminine or he just disliked the bullying. I can kind of feel his struggle though, if it does have to do with like the self-loathing and self-dislike of your own body though.
だから極限まで追い込まれてしまったら、スルッと死んじゃいそうでね。
Yeah, Ray's definitely very self-destructive, so it was kind of easy to figure that out though, because it's like, oh, his pastime is going to the death matches, and I'm like, oh, okay.
トワ君、これは僕のおせっかいでしかないんだけど、レイ君の絵を描いてみてくれないかな。
レイの絵を。
The manager knows what that
トワ君
means.
は相手と向き合って心の奥にあるものを絵に描き出すんだよね。レイ君にも同じようにすれば
I
何かが
like
変わるんじゃない
how
か。
the manager thinks. I like how he thinks.
身近な存在だからこそできること、できないこと、気づくこと、気づかないこと、そういうものってたくさんあると思うんだ。
Good suggestion, manager. I didn't respond. Instead, I scrutinized the amber liquid in my glass.
これはちょっとした提案みたいなものだから、気が向いたら考えてみてよ。
あ
I answered curtly, then grabbed my drink and downed the rest. After I talked with the manager, I lit a cigarette and thought about Ray. Admittedly, I had sketched him a few times now, and I was vaguely interested in painting him. His last euphoric episode didn't work out, but maybe now he could offer me something spectacular. To that end, I needed to find out where he was. I pulled out my cell phone and decided to give Sakaki a call. Yep. When in doubt, we called the homeboy. First, I was going to ask about the money matches. I pulled up his address book entry and hit the call button. I got some
聞きたい
questions.
ことがあるんだけど。
I got some questions.
レイはマネーマッチに出てるのか？
Oh. At this, the manager stopped cleaning glasses and looked at me. What do you want to talk about?
あ、
Speak to me, homie.
店長、会計。
My tab. My tab, boss. After my phone call, I crushed my cigarette in the ashtray and rose to my feet. Then I paid my tab at the register at the end of the counter.
気をつけてね。
We're gonna try. He called out to me in a quiet voice as I made my way to the door. I nodded over my shoulder and walked out. Oh, what is Sakagi gonna tell us? Whenever I talk to him, there ain't nothing good about it. Arriving at Takasato HQ in District C, I walked in, approached the door to Sakaki's study, and I clicked by accident. And then I clicked by accident. I opened the door and walked in to find him seated in a leather chair behind his massive desk. Fujita! Homeboy evokes something in me every time I see him. Beside him stood a man in glasses and a suit.
わざわざ来てもらって悪いな。
Sakaki straightened up in his chair. Smiling, he rested both arms on the desk. So Fujieda is in like every chapter, but Madarame was only mentioned in Ray's. So I just thought that was interesting. Unless I missed it. You know, that does happen to me. Sakaki straightened up in his chair. Smiling, he rested both arms on the
話
desk.
って。
まずはお前自身の話だ。
Oh,
親父の遺
that's
産についてなん
right.
だが、どうぞ。
いらない。
Don't need it. I answered immediately, and his smile
お前
stiffened.
な、せめて考えるそ。
考えるまでもない。
Yeah, it's true.
まあ、そういうだろうとは思ってたが。
He scrutinized my face like he was looking for something, then let out a sigh of defeat.
それじゃあ、せめて親父に線香を備えるくらいはしてくれ。
断る。
No. He shook his head at my stubbornness, then leaned back into his chair.
一応、息子であるお前の意思の確認が必要だったんだ。よくわかったよ。
そっちの話はこれで終わりか。
さあ、焦るな。まだある。例の泉のせがれのこと
Yeah,
だ。
that's what we care about. That's what we want right now. I looked at him
あい
expectantly.
つも難儀だな。あんなクズの父親のためにわざわざ。
レイの父親は昔、高里組で仕事をしてたらしいな。俺の両親と。
I cut in and his eyes
その
narrowed.
話、誰から聞いた？
本人からだ。
あんな野郎、ペラペラしゃべりやがって。
Ugh.
まあ、聞いちまったん
Man,
なら
the
隠
tea
しても
is
仕方がない
piping
な。
hot in Ray's chapter.
確かにうちで仕事してたよ。
仕事の内容は
Just tell me. He looked at me with a level of contempt he normally never
内
would.
容までは別にいいだろう。
Yes, it does.
金を返すためにまたその仕事をやりたいから俺から頼んでくれって言われたんだ。
あのクソ野郎。本当にどうしようもねえな。
Oh, mercy. Sakaki gritted his teeth bitterly. Beside him, the guy in glasses remained as quiet as a
まあ
statue.
いい。絶対誰にも言うなよ。
分かってる。
もうお前も十分に分かってるとは思うが、
Yes.
泉は最低のろくでなしだ。だから普通は危なくて手出さないような仕事も報酬に目がくらんでやらせてくれって乗ってきたんだよ。それに親父とお前のおふくろさんの名誉のために言っておくが、二人は泉の仕事自体にはほとんど関わってねえ。下っ端の汚れ仕事だからな。でだ。
I
何の仕事を
I knew-
や
I
って
was
たか
like-
というと、
it can't be good.
人身売買だよ。
Gosh.
子供の。
I expected no less.
汚れ仕事だ。危なくなったらいつでも切り捨てられるようなやつにしかやらせねえんだよ。
Yep.
子供絡みの仕事は罪悪感で心を
I
病むや
bet
つ
he
のことなん
didn't.
だが、泉は平然としてたな。あいつ自分の息子も都合のいい道具くらいにしか思ってないんだろう。他にはお前の母親が経営してた店の仕事も少し手伝ってたはずだ。そっちは従業員のスカウトだが、泉が言ってる身入りのいい仕事ってのは人身売買の方だろうな。
母親は何の店をやってたんだ？
Probably.
ああ、高級クラブみたいなもんだよ。
Yeah. Yeah. He paused to make a show of shifting in his chair, then looked back at me.
で、なんだ、泉のせがれがマネーマッチに出てるかって？
Yes.
あ、
マネーマッチのことは誰から聞いた？本人か？
噂だ。
Good boy. I spoke vaguely to avoid narking on AG and and Bruce manager.
そうか。まあ、隠しきれってなかなか難しいもんだからな。今みたいなネット社会じゃ特にな。
He exhaled, then continued after.
泉のせがれはマネーマッチに出てるぞ。
Oh. Sure enough. I was expecting this answer, so it didn't especially surprise
それ
me.
はレイが出場を望んだのか？
ああ、本人の希望だ。今のところ2戦やって2戦とも勝ってる。デスマッチじゃ結構強いってんで有名だったんだ。
Oh, gosh.
マネーマッチは負けたら終わりだが、勝てば賞金が出るからな。このまま
What
勝
is
ち
he
続けれ
betting
ば、
though? Like, that's
いず
so.
れ借金も返せるだろうな。
As he spoke, he glanced at his
ちょう
wristwatch.
ど今夜11時から泉のせがれが参加する試合
I
に
know.
な
I
るん
was
だ。
like, we're heading to the death match. That's where this is going. Okay.
友達が命を懸けて戦ってるんだ。一度は見ておいた方がいい。だろ？
取りやめにはできないのか？
取りやめ？
He raised his eyebrows dramatically.
さすがにそれは無理だな。何よりも泉のせがれが嫌がるんじゃねえか？
I hate that he's
借金
calling.
が返さなく
I
なる
hate that he's calling him Izumi Jr. because I'm just like, no. Working a normal 9 to 5, chances were high he could spend his whole life trying to pay off that 300 million. So it wasn't surprising that he would pick a high-risk, high-return option instead. Then the manager's words echoed in the back of my mind. Ugh. If I didn't take action, it might really happen.
で、どうするんだ？試合を見るのか見ないのか。
We're going. After a moment of silence, I
行
replied.
くよ。
それじゃあ夜の10時半に事務所の前まで来てくれ。
10:30? Okay, will do. With that curt response, I left the room. Slow damage. you can hear. Yes, I definitely did not hide that I was like, of course, that's what Ray stabbed did. I was like, it's either like, you know, he killed people or, you know, anything terrible, and I'm just like, yeah, the most terrible of terrible for sure. So, and then he's just like, oh, can I ask for my old job back? And I'm like, oh wow, you yeah, you suck. I never thought I'd hate anyone more than Tono, but here I am. You know, as I was walking down the street, I pulled out my phone and called Ray. The phone rang and rang and rang until Ray finally answered. I could hear his faint, hoarse voice. He was now audibly panicked. Sakagi. He let out a sigh of defeat. I fell silent, then I heard a giggle on the other end of the line. Oh. Man, there ain't nothing, like, I can't even joke. You know, I can't even joke this chapter, it's just like depressing. Like, I'm just like, dang, huh?
もったいないだろ。何も言わずに死ぬなら、俺に全部吐き出してから死ねよ。それが絵のモチーフになる。
I love Toa.
私のこと書いてくれるの？デスマッチで戦ってる時のお前は何回か書いてる。嘘。前から。そうなんだ。知らなかった。
Oh.
嬉しい。
His tone be different, huh?
落書きだけどな。落書きでも嬉しい。ありがとう。とは。
He sounded overjoyed.
マネーマッチをやめることはできないけど、私勝つね。とわにもっと書いてもらうために勝つから。
The stress is real.
ああ。電話ありがとう。すごく本当に嬉しかった。
The stress. The stress. The stress is real.
それじゃまたね。
Okay. Alright. After the call ended, I stared down at my phone for a long time. Deep down, I knew Ray wouldn't listen to me about the money matches, so really, I wasn't that surprised. I didn't tell him I was coming to see his match tonight. If he was that committed to it, then I wanted to see the proof. How would he fight, knowing his life was on the line? Couldn't wait to find out. That night at 10:30, I met up with Sakaki outside of the Takasato office. Then we got in his car and headed to the casino. Oh, Lord. Oh, please. Please. We parked in the parking lot on floor B3, then boarded the elevator. Sakaki had two cronies with him. One of them inserted a key card into a panel below the floor buttons, then pressed B1. Of course. Sakaki stood in the center of the elevator as it began to move. Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's what rich people do. They're so bored, they gotta make up their own clubs. So, before I continue, it's interesting because we seem to be spending more time with Sakaki here. in Rei's route, and then we spent more time with Tono in the other route. So I just so this twofer kind of thing that slow damage is doing is interesting. So the elevator quietly stopped at floor B1, and the doors opened. What appeared before me was a long drab passageway illuminated by cold fluorescent lights. Yeah, this is definitely a deathmatch area.
ここは従業員や参加者が移動するための通路だ。表から客席を回っていくより、こっちからの方が近道だな。
Oh, I see. Alright.
参加者
マネーマッチの参加者だよ。
Oh boy. With a thin smile, Sakaki set off down the corridor, and I followed after him. As we walked, we spotted some doors here and there, including a set of black double doors at the very end of the passageway. The Gronies walked up and opened them for us. Oh, yes, the VIP lounge. Instantly, a wave of densely stagnant air engulfed me. What lay before me was a domed stadium. In the center was what looked like a circular stage with metal fencing along the edges. Giant monitors were fixed near the ceiling. The spectator seats were almost completely full. Spotlights shone down from the ceiling onto the stage. We stood on a balcony jutting out over the highest level of the bleachers. It looked like a VIP lounge with plush sofas and tables. Yeah, I'm like feeling like, I can't say I'm feeling as miserable as Rei, because Rei is pretty miserable, but I'm feeling the misery right now. At least, you know, it's just like, there's just so much misery. Yeah, at least without Sakura, it's like I could crack jokes here and there and you guys laughed at me, but I'm just like, man, I'm depressed, like for real. Like this chapter's super depressing. Sakaki looked back at me smugly, then sat down on the sofa. I continued to stand there and observe the spectators buzzing like bees. Upon further inspection, I realized most of the guests were wearing classy suits or dresses unbefitting of a sports stadium. マネーマッチは莫大な金をかける娯楽だ。つまり金がなきゃこの場所には入ることもできない。Oh yeah, for sure. 金持ち玉は金が有り余ってるせいか。Oh yeah, yep. 普通の娯楽に飽きてるやつが多い。Just like in Squid Game. Like, you know how in Squid Games it's like rich guys were betting on like basically death games, you know? ありとあらゆるものを遊び尽くして、より刺激的で派手な遊びがないか常に求める。Exactly. Like you get so bored. だからマネーマッチはブルジョワに人気があるんだよ。金を出して殺し合いをのんびり眺めよってんだから。Yeah, because they're rich. Like, you know, they're crazy. Like at that point, you're just like a little insane. You know, abhorrent amounts of wealth make people really crazy. Just then, a loud buzzer echoed through the stadium. The main lights dimmed, and a bright spotlight lit up the center of the stage. Then finally, two men appeared at the edges of the stage, and cheers rose up from the audience. The combatants' name and faces appeared on the giant monitor. First, the challenger, then the reigning champion, R. As the spectators' excitement reached a boiling point, the two entrants faced off on stage. Then the countdown started, and number 10 appeared on the monitor. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Starting at 5, the audience began to count down loudly, and when they hit 0, the two fighters sprang into action. Sparang! In the death matches I'd watched thus far, Rei had always paused to evaluate his opponent's movements before charging in. Oh, is he like a monster right now? But this time was very different. Baring his gritted teeth like a savage animal, he lunged at the other fighter. The challenger jumped backwards to dodge, but then Rei followed up with a second punch that slammed into his jaw. The challenger staggered backwards, but quickly steadied himself. Still, Rei didn't waste the opportunity. He closed in and punched him 2 to 3 more times with alternating fists. Shielding his head with his arms, the challenger threw out a punch at Rei's unguarded torso. Ray doubled over, and for a second, he fell still. The challenger saw this as his chance for a comeback. He launched into an all-out offensive with punches and kicks aimed at Ray's head and shoulders. Unable to block, Ray could only stand there and endure the onslaught. The sound of colliding bone mingled with the cheers of the crowd. Meanwhile, the challenger slowly drove Ray into the ground without letting up. Then all of a sudden, Ray went from taking his lumps to freezing like a statue. With a bellowing roar, Ray crouched down and charged full speed at his opponent. A vicious tackle threw the other fighter off balance. Then Ray slammed his knee into his opponent's chin and punched him in the gut, while landing a roundhouse kick. As he delivered a barrage of punches, he looked like he was smiling. His face was swollen and covered in blood and sweat, and his lips were parted widely, flashing his teeth. With no shred of humanity to hide behind, he wielded his brute strength like an animal, thirsting only for victory and survival. A shiver ran down my spine, and a small sigh left my lips. Watching him inflict bloodshed was like the ultimate foreplay. I hate so. He seemed so alive, far more so than during any of the death matches. And I was confident I wasn't just seeing things. Ray loved fighting, and he loved death matches. So I was sure, even as he stood at death's door, that he was having the time of his life. It was akin to the way I craved pure pain. He was a honed blade, untarnished by the dulling effects of rationality. This was a human's most primal form. As I gazed at him, enraptured and unblinking, a distracting sound grated on my ears. なかなか検討してるようだが、もしお前があいつを助けたいと思うなら、聞いてやらんこともないぞ。The thrill burgeoning inside me instantly wilted. The world around me rapidly lost its color. Only Ray, with his brightly colored smoke, stood out sharply against the scenery, but the spell was broken. The crowd's passion and energy had reached its climax. At this rate, Ray was sure to win. I glanced at Sakaki, then wordlessly turned on my heel. He called after me, but I ignored him and walked to the double doors. One of his cronies hurried over and opened a door for me. Then he followed me out. As we walked down the drab gray corridor, I kept thinking about Ray. Even though my fever flare-up had faded, the embers still smoldered in my chest. The image of Ray, gritting his teeth and swinging his fists with wild abandon, was burned into my brain. All of a sudden, I felt a powerful impulse. I want to paint him. Barely suppressing my spasmic fits of excitement, I walked across the concrete. Man, it's getting juicy. It took a long while to get to the juice, though. Yeah, it took a while. Lots of sadness before we got to like the punchy punchies, like the real punchy punchies Fight Club type of beat. Back in my apartment, I sat on the sofa and started sketching. After I filled about 20 pages on my sketchpad, I stopped and checked my phone. It was 1 a.m. Ray was probably back at home by now. Assuming he won, that is. I tossed my sketchpad onto the coffee table, grabbed my phone, and called his number. The phone rang for a lot longer than usual. He didn't seem to be picking up, so I ended the call. Then I rose to my feet, pulled on my coat, and left. I decided to go to Ray's place in person. Had he won his match, or I didn't want to find out through Sakaki. Oh boy. Directed exploration. Okay, well, here we go, kids. Oh, I don't know what to expect. I'm stressed. All I feel is stress. Under the frozen black sky, I arrived at Ray's condo building, cigarette between my lips. Ugh. passed through the lobby and boarded the elevator. Then I got off at the 6th floor and walked to 606. I rang the doorbell. No response. Next I tried knocking, but no dice. I pressed my ear to the door and listened carefully. I could hear some sort of faint sound coming from inside. Ray had to be in there hiding like last time. So I decided to take matters into my own hands. I grabbed the doorknob and rattled it around loudly. The grating sound echoed down the quiet hall. Next, I spammed the doorbell.
Ray!
That's like the loudest I've ever heard him, like, yell. What I was doing was textbook harassment, but it was especially effective on the conscientious type. As I carried on making a disturbance, the neighboring door opened a crack and a middle-aged woman squinted at me suspiciously, but that didn't stop me. After a few minutes, I finally heard Ray's door unlock. Then it opened halfway and I locked eyes with a very grumpy Ray. Belatedly, I realized he must have won his match. Mumbling quietly, he leaned away from the door and I promptly walked in. The entryway lights were off, but I could see light streaming in from the open door leading to the living room. As soon as Ray entered the living room, he sat on the sofa and buried his face in his hands. I silently stood in front of him until he lowered his hands and looked at me. He had fresh injuries on his face, including some still bleeding cuts. There were dark purple bruises all over, on his eyes, cheeks, and jaw. It almost looked like special effects makeup. Oh yep, there it is. Not only that, but his smoke had changed to a fierce, reddish purple color. He spoke in a low, flat, hoarse voice. Staring at the floor, he nodded slightly. Yeah, that's true. There came a small sigh and a pensive silence followed. His voice petered out, and he buried his face in his hands once more. Man. His voice was watery and his hands were stiff and shaky. I crouched down to put myself at his eye level. Let's go, Toho. When I called to him, he lowered his hands. Then he looked at me, his face covered in cuts and bruises, his eyes filled with tears. I gazed deeply into those eyes and said, "Come on, baby. Come on, Ray." Okay, let's go, kids. We're gonna do it to it. Oh, man. Let's do it. Oh, yep. Here we go. Okay. You can't expect me to do that. Just leave me alone. This is where it gets hard, huh? Not like that, you nasties. Is that how you really feel? explain it to me.
じゃあ
Explain it to
放
me.
っておいて。
Please, for now, just go home. I don't know. It's so hard to know what to do. Only once you've calmed down. Okay. Let's try.
お前は
何を
What does it matter to you? Why did you come here? Oh, I remember. You want to paint me or something. That's why you want me to talk to you.
ポジティブ。そうだろ。
I think it'd be a win-win for both of us. Win-win. What makes you think that? Okay. This is taking a go at. I don't know if this is the right way. I don't have to spell it out. I know you.
Ya
get
mete.
it. Stop doing your little tricks. Okay.
もう
You're honestly so selfish. Okay. Let's lean into
ネガ
it.
ティブ。
Okay.
どうも。
Always happen.
あ
Yeah, you're right. Please just go home.
聞いて
Otherwise, I don't know what I might do to you too.
ポジティ
Oh, let's accept it. I
ブ。お前が望むなら。
don't care.
とは
Oh, Toa, why? Okay, up, 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 up. There. Okay, good.
あ
I can't just go home.
あ、俺は。
I can't just go
構
home.
わないで
Why? Yeah, let's push more.
レイ、
I just can't. Come on. Come on.
本当に
I'm sorry.
わからない
Right now, I honestly don't even know what I'm thinking.
まだあるはずだ。
There's gotta be more. Okay. 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 Come on. Come on. Come on. What do I got? What do I got here? Well, that's
マ
one.
ネーマッチ。
That's definitely one of it. So.
マネーマッチ。いつからだ。
Yeah. When.
榊に初めて呼び出された
Oh
後から
my gosh. Yeah, we gotta help the
も
homie.
っとだ。
と
Okay, what we got? What we got, honeys? Oh,
例えば、
fortunately, you have the option to quit.
それはできないわ
I can't do that, it's too late now. Yeah, I
Positive.
guess. I don't.
聞かせろ。
So you're gonna keep fighting.
そう
Yeah. Is it really? Yeah, I
Yes.
mean,
それは。
is it really that important?
だとしても、
Do you really have to go this far for your deadbeat dad? He's not very nice, Ray. Uh,
ネガティブ。そうだ。
We could always just cut ties.
それはダメ
I actually did think about it, but I just couldn't. Are you sure? Are you
よ
sure?
く聞け。
You sure you can't?
とは
Yeah. I don't.
あ
Oh.
そうか。
I can't comprehend it.
わからないか
I know.
あ、じゃあ、
Is it because he's family?
Positive. 分かってる。
There's no need for you to shoulder the whole burden yourself. There could be some other way, yeah.
そうだな。
There could be some other way. I'm not sure about that.
まだ見えない
There's
傷
a
がある。
scar I can't see. Okay. I already used the dead and his father are already like, yeah? Okay,
人
let's
身
go.
売買。
No, I can't believe we have to tell him this. This is awful.
榊からお前の父親がどういう仕事をしていたのかを聞いた。人身売買をやってたらしいな。
知ってるわ。私も榊から聞いたもの。そういうことも聞いたからマネーマッチに参加するって決めたのよ。もし私がマネーマッチに出ないならまたあの男に仕事をさせるって言ってたし、
I knew it. Oh my
それは絶対にダメだと思ったの。あの男のためじゃなくて、そんな仕事自体なくした方がいいんだから。
榊はお前がそう言うと踏んで条件を提示したんだろうな。
Oh,
レイを追い詰めてるのは。
なんてことなの。
Hate all these gangsters. Damn all. Ooh! Ray choked like he was holding something back. Then he jumped up and punched the wall with both fists. We're here. Okay, good. Slowly but surely, a faint red smear spread over the white paint. After a few more punches, his hands fell limply to his sides, dripping blood as his shoulders heaved.
つくづく自分のバカさ加減に腹が立つわ。あのクソ親父、やっぱり最低のクソ野郎だったんじゃないの。私一体何のために。
He collapsed weakly, his voice faint and muffled. Sweat dropped from his face as he sat and stared down at the floor.
あいつはね、私が同性しか愛せないって知ったとき、
Yeah, see,
お前は死んだも同然だって怒鳴ったの。男を好きになるようなやつは男じゃない。女だって。お前は男として死んでるんだって。私、子供の頃からずっと女の子みたいに可愛いって言われてきて。両親が、特にお母さんが嬉しそうにしてたから、それがなんだか誇らしくて、いつも女の子みたいな気持ちでいたの。だから女の子より男の子の方が好きなのかもって気づいた時も、おかしいことじゃないのかなって思ってた。実際はそうじゃなかった。男が男を好きになることは異常だって。お前は男じゃないって。あいつに怒鳴られて、私は男じゃないんだって。だったら女として生きなきゃいけないんだって思ったの。それからはもうあの男とは同じ家にいながら絶縁状態だった。って言ってもあいつはほとんど家にいなかったから顔を合わせることはそんなになかったんだけどね。
Stiffly, he exhaled to steady himself.
あいつはもともとギャンブル好きで 放浪癖があって、1週間くらい家を空けることもしょっちゅうだった。それが原因で母親と離婚してるの。母親が家を出て行って、私はあいつのもとに取り残されて。それでも高校までは普通に見えるように頑張ったのよ。普通っていうのが何なのかはよくわからなかったけど。
I'm like, I'm so sad. I'm just so sad right now.
とにかく同性の子と同じように振る舞って、変だって思われないように言葉遣いにも気をつけたわ。でも高校を卒業したら自然と今みたいな感じになったの。多分あいつに男であることを否定された時に、私の中で何かが変わったのね。その時はこれでいいんだって思った。自分が男じゃなく女だってことを受け入れることができたんだと思ってた。なのに本当はそうじゃなかったみたい。喧嘩で初めて人を殴った時に感じたの。なんて気持ちいいんだって。骨と骨のぶつかる音や肉を殴る感触が本当に楽しくって、自分でもおかしいと思ったけどやめられなくて、それで気づいたの。もしかしたら私の中でずっと押さえつけてた男の部分が暴力を振るうことで出てきたんじゃないかって。
So, sorry, I'm gonna take a moment, but I can kind of guess what Ray's issue was overall, because Ray constantly talked about being bullied a lot because he looked like a girl and he looked really feminine. And his father is a very sexist, homophobic, transphobic, scum of the earth, you know, so nothing good about him. So the way his father treated Ray, like even if like, you know, for example, oh, my dad's a deadbeat, like Ray said, it's just like, you know, either I have fought, like he said, he either has his father chopped up or his father goes back to work for to work for the human trafficking again. And Ray was just like, he decided to essentially join the money matches / death matches. Like he would rather kill a person than have his dad go back to human trafficking. Not because of his dad, but because of the people that his dad hurts, right? And then like I had kind of like come to the conclusion that Ray's father, again, like it's like, oh, my dad Ray's dad kicked him out, or you know, Ray came out to his dad just like, you know, things, nonsense things from a very bigoted trash man, you know. So it would make sense that Ray has a lot of issues. Like he has a lot of like anger issues, he has a lot of like self-destructive issues. So it would make sense that like he would like fighting, because then he gets the satisfaction and like he validates himself by being like, oh, I am masculine enough to be a man. Because he, you know, he's just like was so confused his whole life and very gaslighted his whole life, so he didn't even really know, like, you know, how to deal with a father like that, you know. So then it would make sense that Ray doesn't even want to talk to his father, because his father suddenly wants to talk to him because he's got debt. And it's like, what are you talking about? You know, it's just like, who are you? Do I know you, sir? You know, type of beat. But yeah, my least favorite worst character so far, Ray's father. Yeah. Because it's one thing to be like, you know, back then I had to do it. But it's like, Ray's father is just like, can I ask for my old job back? It's like, he just does not care. And like Sakaki said, it's just like, you know, only the worst kind of people. Like, he's like the lowest kind of person. Only the lowest kind of people even take that job, you know? Right. But let's continue. Man, this chapter is so sad. oh gosh.
男の部分を押さえつけることで本当は鬱憤みたいなものが溜まり続けていて、それを喧嘩で初めて発散することができたんじゃないかって。長いこと自分は女だと思って生きてきたからすぐには変えられないけど、私やっぱり男なの。
Yes, you are. Yes, you are, Ray.
だから集団暴行事件に巻き込まれた時は本当にショックだった。
Okay. So it wasn't exactly trauma from like the violence or being jumped. It was actually the trauma of he probably was his trauma was re-triggered. So his trauma was re-triggered because he thought, you know, all this time he could defend himself and that he was masculine enough, but then he got beat up and like it started like re-triggered him and like re-triggered his trauma, and so that's why he was all shook up for a while. Oh, this is so sad. This is so sad. Like, it's not his fault. You know, it's not his fault that his dad is stupid. Like, that's literally the theme of this row. It's like, his dad is stupid and it's not Ray's fault. You know, Ray's just living his life, and his bum dad is like, but we're family. It's like, yeah, when were we family back then? Because we were not family back then. That's what you said. You know?
あの男に父親にずっと否定されて生きてきたから、誰かにねじ伏せられることが怖くて嫌でたまらなくて、あいつのことを思い出してとにかくショックで、本当に私をこんな風にしたあいつが大嫌い。会いたくないし顔も見たくない。大嫌い大嫌い大嫌いなの。
Me too. Shouting, Ray pounded the floor with his bloody fists as the tears fell from his face. Ugh, contradiction. I walked over to him, crouched down, and looked directly into his eyes.
今日の試合、客席で見てた。
Yep. His eyes widened in shock.
え？嘘。なんで？
榊に誘われたんだよ。
そうだったの。
It's better that you didn't. His emotions seemed to evaporate all of a sudden, and he slumped over.
今日、初めてお前によく
Ooh, here we go!
え？
I mean, I know we're sad right now. Yeah, and I've been being like, wow, I feel so miserable in this route, but I agree with those sentiments. I'm sorry. Before I continue, I just want to tell you guys. So, if you know me long enough, I love martial arts. I love martial arts. Anything. I like martial arts so much that I even took Taekwondo when I was younger. I am a first-degree black belt. I'm not just saying that to be funny. I'm just letting you guys know I love martial arts, which also means I love things like Fight Club, MMA, you know, like gangster movies, kung fu movies, like any like martial arts anime, fighting anime, like any kind of this sounds so terrible. Any kind of genre where the theme is like fist fighting, I'm like down. Like, you know, I'm not even like in real life, I'm not even like a violent person. You know, I'm not like that. But like, I don't know what it is. I was like, you know, boxing, MMA fights, you know, martial art, like any of that. I think that like I get pumped, you know. It's like exciting. But usually I watch the fictional stuff. But I do watch boxing in real life. But anyway, the point is, bringing it back round to Toa. Yeah, all this time I was just like, oh, Ray's really cute, and then I was just like, but he's like, just cute, you know, like I was like, Ray beating a dude, like, you know, like with his fists, no inhibition, like that money match fight. Woo! I agree, Toa. I agree. Yeah, I was just like, that's hot in some format, and that's kind of weird, but also, you know, him punching dudes and winning, that's attractive. You know, him killing a dude, that not so attractive, but you know, that's a different thing. But Toa and I are one and the same. Absolutely. Anyway, now you guys can judge me as I continue this portion of the story. Oh, have mercy. Okay. Ray slowly lifted his head and looked at me. His expression was dumbfounded, like he had no idea what I just said.
多分、俺とお前は少し似てる。殴り合ってる時のお前を見てると興奮する。
Same.
デスマッチよりも命をかけたマネーマッチを楽しんでるように俺には見えた。命をかけることへの恐怖と快楽。お前の中で起きてる矛盾が俺のモチーフになる。
He stared at me with his mouth agog for a moment. Then his lips curled in a half smirk.
すっごく複雑な気分よ。喜びたい気持ちと喜んでいいのかわからない気持ち。今も矛盾してるわ。
You can admit if you into it too. Like Toa. With that, he quietly averted his gaze.
ねえ、とは。私とあんたが似てるって言うなら。
Ooh, let's talk about it.
教えてほしい。
Oh, the music is starting.
命が失われるかもしれない状況で、どうしてそれを楽しむことができるの？
Oh.
私は戦っている瞬間は楽しめても、我に返ると罪悪感に押しつぶされそうになる。今もそうよ。トアはどうなの？ユーフォリアが終わった後、後悔することはあるの？
Oh, that's a good question, actually.
自分と相手を限界まで傷つけて、どうしてそれを楽しいと言えるの？罪悪感はないの？
So, one more soapbox tangent. I'm a liar, but I'll probably have more. Ray asked this question, but the people so far that I've assisted with Toa as Euphoria, they're not really like correct in the head, if that makes sense. Ikuina was like very like, it's like, I want to see the open wounds on a living person, or I want to cut open a person while they're awake. And then Sakura was just like, oh, I want to basically body modify a person, but he was willing to body modify a child because he was so like overly gaslit by people, if that makes sense. Like he was overly like scrutinized for with no basis and no real reason, that he was questioning himself so much that he drove himself mad, right? And then in our bestie Kirimizu's situation, he was highly abused. So his only form, he realized his only form of like affection and connection to like the only person he probably liked in his life like was his brother. He ended up like turning to violence, you know, and being like, you know, he became obsessed with violence. So those people have a lot of darkness in them. So in Toa's case, it's just like after the euphoric episode, like he said, he's just like, I don't talk to them again after. I never draw the same person twice. It's like bringing out the darkness of people is his work, basically. And Rei is just like, how can you say that hurting each other deeply is fun? And it's like, but Toa's not actually hurting them. Toa is fulfilling their wishes. You know what I mean? Like, that makes sense, right? Like, it's like, it's not hurting. It's fulfilling their wishes, even if it looks like it hurts, right? And it's like, so that's why it would make sense if Toa doesn't feel guilt, even if he had more of like a straighter moral compass, like a more black and white moral compass, then he would feel guilty, because it's just like, oh, I just like, you know, we went buck wild. But in Toa's case, they're not hurting each other, you know. Even in Ikuina's case, Ikuina was the one cutting up Toa, and then Toa was cutting Ikuina sometimes too, but it's like for the most part Toa was the one getting jacked up, you know. Well, I guess it's kind of even, but you know what I mean. It's like, you know, and in that case it's like Toa was suffering too. In the case of Asakura, Toa is the one who went through pain, like physical pain, you know. And then Kirimizu with Bessie again, it's like they were hurting each other, right? So I understand Rei's question. I know what he's asking it, but he has to also see that it's like, it's not hurt. It is revealing the dark desires of people and fulfilling it. So that's why I would understand if Toa doesn't feel guilt. So, anyway.
即答なのね。それはどうして？
Because of everything I just said.
自分がいつ死んでもいいからだ。
Oh, for himself. Okay, as in like Toa himself, yeah. When or where? Yeah, Toa is like the most self-destructive one here. I gazed firmly into his eyes as I continued.
俺はユーフォリアで相手に殺されても構わない。それがお互いに求めた結果ならな。
But he mentioned that. I thought he mentioned that he doesn't do that though. As Euphoria. Okay, let's continue. Sorry, let's just continue.
双方合意の上なら死んでも構わない。
ああ、お互いに死ぬ気でやらなきゃ本当の快楽なんて味わえないだろう。
Yeah. Yes, from the adrenaline junkie Toa himself. He let out a breath.
私とトアが違うのは死を恐れているかどうかってことなの。
Man, this music is busting.
かもな。
せっかく似てるって言ってもらったけど、私はトアみたいにはなれないわ。
I don't know, you say that, Ray, but you're pretty close. Like, it's just that your moral compass is a lot more firm. Like, Ray has a more moral compass than Toa does. Like, Toa's moral compass is very gray, but Ray's is still pretty even, if that makes sense. He looked at me with a tiny happy smile.
さっきのは嬉しかった。殴り合ってる時の男の私に浴場するって言ってくれたこと。
That's so sad because, yeah, I guess it's not hard to figure out. Ray has hard daddy issues, you know, amongst other things. Oh, that's so sad. Sorry, that's just so sad that he likes that. You know, his manly violent side is what attracts Toa, and it makes him like happy about that. And I'm like, that's so sad. You know?
なんていうか、 本当の私を見てくれてるみたいで。
See, Ray? See? See? It's just as I had explained. It's fulfilling the deep desires of one's heart. Whether it's, you know, good or bad, you know?
単にそういう私がトアの趣味にあっただけなのかもしれないけど。
Oh no, 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 it's there. That's the reality.
だとしても嬉しいし、都合よく解釈しようと思うわ。
That's what art is, baby. Okay?
でも、
mischievous smile crept up on his face.
トアにとって普段の私はどうなの？ダメってことなの？
Ray would ask this question.
普段はおせっかいで口うるさいの。
He said it.
え？
Excuse
ちょっ
me?
とそれひどくない？
Well, that's just the truth, Ray. He pouted his lips, but only lasted a moment before giggling.
話したら少し楽になった。
Murmuring to himself, he slowly unclenched his bloody fists. Silently, I took his hand and pressed those scarlet knuckles to my lips. He flinched and looked at me in alarm, but he didn't try to pull away. Slowly, I lowered his hand and straightened up.
今の
別に。
Nothing. Nothing. He looked at me, his eyes faintly damp, and he pursed his lips with determination.
決めた。今からデスマッチに行くわ。
Death match or a money match?
今から。
Right now? I squinted at him dubiously, and he grinned.
結局ね、気楽に楽しめるのはデスマッチなの。
Ah, okay, so he
もう
means
ずっ
like
と
an
言って
actual
ない
death
から、
match.
久しぶりに行こうかなって。
試合があったのに疲れてるんじゃないのか？
うん。でも、今行きたいの。
His smile carried a hint of shyness.
だからトア、一緒に来てね。
Berg. Man, that was a journey. These two got me bug wild. So we hopped onto Ray's motorcycle and headed to the deathmatch area. Oh boy. After we parked and crossed over the boundary on foot, Ray squinted around at our surroundings.
来なくなってからまだ少ししか経ってないのに、なんだかすごく久しぶりな感じがするわ。変なの。別にデスマッチエリアが特別好きってわけじゃないのに、こんな気分になるなんてね。
Because he smiled bitterly. As we headed in deeper, I sensed a commotion up ahead where a group of men had gathered. Ray's pace quickened. Was he going to challenge them to a match? But then he stopped short. As he stared dazedly into the distance, I realized he was looking at his friends. Junko, Honami, and Arata all froze and looked back at him.
やだ、レイじゃない。
Oh, that's true because Ray has been like missing for like a hot minute. Junko's squeal triggered a chain reaction and they all came running over.
レイ、大丈夫なの？
レイ、会いたかったわよ。っていうか、その顔何があったの？
They all surrounded him, showering him in questions. Bashful and flustered, Ray smiled and looked around them.
みんな、ごめんね。心配かけて。
とっても心配したし、今も心配よ。その怪我どうしたのよ。
I love Junko so much. You're done right. And I'm still worried now.
ジュンコ、元気になったのね。よかった。
私のことはいいから。
I love Junko. Furrowing his brow, Ray slowly exhaled like he was trying to not cry.
みんな、本当にごめんなさい。今の私の状況、説明させてくれる？
The trio nodded. And so Ray told them about his father, at the deathmatch area? Oh, like, this isn't really I mean, I get it, but this wasn't really the time. Like, you know, get a fight in first. Like, you know, it's like, can I get one match in and then we can talk about it on the way home? Like, kind of, you know, like, I don't know. Anyway. And so Ray told him about his father, the debt, sorry, and the money matches, all without losing his cool. After he was done, the others stared at him blankly for a while. Then they exchanged looks.
実はね、私と純子が村瀬先生のところへ行った時に、レイのお父さんが来ていて、話を聞いちゃったの。
I want to throw that dude into the ocean so bad.
大体のことは知ってたんだけど、レイの口から聞くと、やっぱり辛いわ。
そうだったのね。
どうしてレイが借金なんて背負わなきゃいけないのよ。本当にどうして。
まさかそんなことになってたなんて。
As the trio all blinked back tears, Ray smiled weakly.
でも、もう起きちゃったことだから。なんとか借金を返して自由の身になるわ。
レイ。
Just then, the touching moment was interrupted by speedy footsteps. A group of people was barreling down towards us from the alleyway behind us. Ray and the others whirled around cautiously. Sure enough, a group of men emerged at the end of the alley. Yeah, it's these guys. See, I'm telling you, this dude on the left, like, come on. You sock him once and his nose is broken. He's got very little nose. There were about 20 of them. All of them were in black.
こいつら。
やあ、また会ったな。この間の借りを返させてくれよ。
Ray's gonna snap your necks, like. The man in the hoodie sneered down his nose at us. Then something clicked in his hand, and I recognized the sharp glint of a blade. The others were wielding daggers, wrenches, and metal pipes.
そんなもの使わないと戦えないの？
なんとでも言え。こっちは勝てば何でもいいんだよ。
Oh, then you can lose. Smirking, the man in the hoodie waved the point of his knife back and forth.
いける。
Oh, he can fight, all right. Ray glared at the group, then stepped forward. Likewise, the other three prepared to face off with them.
行くよ。
Let's go, besties. Knock him dead, baby. He muttered under his breath, then charged forward.
やれ！殺せ！
Shouting, the hoodie guy ran forward to meet Ray in the middle. A short distance from the vicious bloodbath, I leaned against the wall and watched Ray. For better or for worse, his money match fights had honed him into an efficient fighter. He decked one guy after the next. Even when they slashed at his face, he didn't flinch. He just kept punching until they fell to the ground. And when one of them hit him with a metal pipe from behind, he simply whirled around and beat... Yeah, that small boy. It was like their attacks didn't faze him. Or maybe he couldn't even feel them. His carnage made my body ache. Calm down, Toa.
何傍観者気取ってやがるてめえ！
I was in fact doing just that, but then one of the men spotted me and came charging at me with a knife. I dodged to the side, and the blade scratched a line in the musty brick wall. He slashed again, but I punched him in the neck. When he flinched, I grabbed his knife arm, and twisted it around behind him. The knife fell from his hand. As I twisted his arm, I used my free hand to grab him by the hair and slam his face into the wall. After 2 or 3 good slams, the guy went limp. I dropped his unconscious body onto the asphalt, then looked back at Ray. Toa's like, I'm busy. While I was fighting, he'd taken out almost all of the other men. When he finally fell still, dripping with sweat and blood, not a single one of the men in black remained standing. He wiped his forehead with his arm, then snapped back to reality and looked around. Honami, Junko, and Narada all stared at him, mouths agog. They had seen a completely different side of him, and now they were at loss for words. Ray seemed to realize something was off. Panting, he looked down at his feet. At this, his friends rushed over.
すごいわレイ！なんだか別人みたい！ほんとよ！動きがキレッキレだ！
また強くなったんじゃない？
They all shrugged it off like it was no big deal, and Ray smiled faintly.
みんな、ありがとう。ごめんね。
They're so supportive. He looked over at me.
トアもありがとう。帰ろう。
Are they gonna smash? Are they gonna smash? Are they gonna smash? As Ray set off walking, his friends followed after him, and I got moving too. He seemed to be at peace, no notable changes in his smoke. But his friends all looked a little worried. Ray's composure suggested that he had come to terms with something big, and everyone could sense what that something was. No, just joking. What's the conclusion that we're gonna come to? After we parted ways with the trio, Ray and I hopped onto his motorcycle and headed back to his place. Once we parked, we headed for the entrance.
お肉食べたいな。
Oh, mood. I want a steak too, girl. He sighed to himself as we waited for the elevator.
今から行くか。
うん。食べたいけど食べたくないの。お金がもったいないし。
Aww. Shaking his head, he shot me a quick glance, then averted his gaze. His cheeks were faintly flushed, which baffled me. What did he have to be embarrassed about? Oh, is he... You know. As I ruminated on this, the elevator arrived and we rode it up to the 6th floor. When we arrived at 606, Ray unlocked the door and walked in. He walked down the hall to the living room, switched on the lights, then sat down on the sofa. I sat down across from him. Beneath the faint light, I could see just how battered he was. He leaned back against the sofa and stretched his arms widely. His hands were swollen purple, and upon further inspection, I could see his nails were short and uneven.
また噛んだのか。
Yeah, probably. He quickly balled his hands into fists to hide his fingers.
ちょっとね。ほんと。とはって意外と人のことよく見てるわよね。
ほぼ毎日のように顔を合わせてるから。
I do see you. Yeah, I do see you.
ほぼ毎日か。
Yeah. With a conflicted smile, he looked up at the ceiling.
毎日会ってたって全然何もわからない時だってあるわよ。あいつ、クソ親父のことだってそう。親子の意味がないくらい、私には何も見えてなかったし、あいつも私のことなんて見てなかった。子供の頃は女の子みたいに扱われてたって話したじゃない？私のことをしつこくいじめてきたガキ大将みたいなやつがすっごく体が大きくてね、抵抗しても全然かなわなくて悔しくて、それで強くなりたいって思ってボクシングジムに通い始めたの。だんだん体力がついてきて、ある時ね、いじめてきたやつの顔を思い切って殴ったの。そうしたら相手がすっごい怯えた顔をして、私震えるくらい楽しいって思っちゃって、手がこう相手の方にめり込んで、肉が沈んで骨がゴリって当たって、相手が驚いてる感覚までビリビリ伝わってきて、それがすっごく気持ちよかったの。
He rubbed his fist with his free hand like he was reliving the memory all over again.
ああ、今私の一撃がこいつをひるませたんだって、これはその証明となる感触なんだって思ったら、つい気持ちいいって声に出して言っちゃったのよ。そのせいで周りからは気味悪がられたけど、いじめられなくなったわ。でももういじめとかそんなことはどうでもよかった。人を殴った時の感触をもっと味わいたくて、ジムに通って体を鍛えて
わざと治安が悪い場所に行って喧嘩したりしては。
Not surprising. He paused there to catch his breath, then his expression clouded over.
マネーマッチはね、戦ってる時は興奮するんだけど、終わったらものすごい罪悪感に襲われるから嫌なの。
I can feel it.
今までは純粋に楽しむために戦ってたけど、マネーマッチはそうじゃないから。
He lowered his gaze to his hands and donned a smile.
いつの間にか手もこんなに傷だらけよ。
治療はしてるのか？
His wounds looked a little leaky in places, which made me wonder if he was doing any kind of treatment at all. Sure enough, he shook his head.
そんな気にならなくて。
タクに見せればいい。
でも。
As Ray faltered, I pulled my phone out of my coat and started calling Taku.
ちょっと、トア。
He rose halfway from the sofa and looked at me.
なんだ、どうした？
今どこだ？自宅か？
Judging from his tone, he was still wide awake.
レイの怪我を見てほしい。
レイ？一緒にいるのか？
Yes. As Ray stared at me in horror, I
わかっ
nodded.
た。すぐに行くからクリニックで待ってろ。
After the phone call was over, Ray started to stammer.
まさか電話するなんて思わなかったわ。タク、寝てたんじゃないの？
いや、クリニックへ行くぞ。
Let's go.
今から？
タクがもう向かってる。
わかった。
He nodded reluctantly and gazed at me for a moment.
でも、ありがとう。
My lip curled in a half smirk.
言葉より酒かタバコの方がいい。
Exact. Never change, my boy.
それはダメ。
He shot back firmly, then burst out laughing. Oh,
本当に支えられてる。
His voice was quiet, so I pretended not to hear him and rose to my feet.
行くぞ。
行くぞ。Slow damage. It was not going to be there, but I thought it was good time. Arriving out front at the clinic, we noticed someone standing by the entrance. Taku? I couldn't tell who it was, but oh no, but it wasn't Taku. Ray got off his motorcycle, scowled dubiously, and walked over. I followed suit. But after a few steps, he stopped. It is not his father. I swear he stopped short. It was his father. The man looked up.
レイどこへ行ったら会えるのかわからなかったから、ここでずっと待ってたんだ。まさかこんな時間に会えるとは思わなかったが、よかった。
What's the good news?
朗報があるんだ。聞いてくれ。
Smiling, he launched into a conversation. Ray didn't move a muscle, but his smoke darkened
借
ominously.
金がだいぶ減ったらしいんだ。お前が買ってくれたおかげだよ。その礼を言いたくてな。本当にありがとう。すまなかった。今まではお前もいろいろと思うところ
Oh
が
no,
あ
you
っ
can
た
suck
だろ
it.
うが。
Punch him out. Punch him out right
ふ
now.
ざけるな！
Shaking like a leaf, Ray interrupted with the loudest scream he could manage. He was glaring so fiercely, I half expected him to bite the guy's head up. Yeah, do it.
このまま
I'll
勝ち
close
続
my
けて
eyes.
借金を返したら、それで私とあんたの関係も終わり、今度こそ本当に縁を切るわ。二度と会いたくない。二度と私の前に現れないで。
He hissed in a low voice, then stormed past his father to the clinic's side entrance. His father stared after him, dumbfounded. I looked at the guy, then kept walking. Ray walked up to the side door, whipped his keys out of his coat pocket, and unlocked the door. We walked in and headed down the hall in the direction of the waiting room. Taku must have heard us coming because he peeked his head from the exam room.
Hey!
He walked over, gritting his teeth like he was trying to hold back all of his emotions. He averted his gaze with a guilty look on his
お前
face.
ずっと心配してたんだぞ。それにその顔、もうひどいなんてもんじゃないな。
心配かけてごめんなさい。そのなんて言ったらいいのか。
とりあえず処置をしよ
う。Yes, let's go. Let's go, Taku. Taku headed for the stairs and we followed after him.
Yoshi, いいぞ。
Once Rei's first aid was complete, Taku let out a breath. Due to repeated injury, Rei's wounds kept reopening. Now his skin was discolored and scaly. Beneath the fluorescent lighting, he looked like he'd been remolded into a different person altogether. His handsome features were buried under layers of cuts and bruises, but to me, it afforded him a savage, masculine vibe.
ありがとう。
He mumbled at the floor. He seemed to avoid making eye contact with Taku, possibly out of guilt. During the first aid process, Taku had demanded an explanation for everything. Rei answered most of his questions, but whenever he fell silent, I stepped in to answer in his place. Once he was all patched up, I looked over at him.
明日もマネーマッチがあるんだな。
As Rei bit his lip, Taku furrowed his brow.
明日もある。
うん。
出るのか。
だって借金を返さないといけないし。
こんなことは言いたくないが、もし万が一のことがあったら。
その時はその時よ。仕方がない。
Taku's expression hardened. Rei smiled weakly at the floor without looking at him.
一応ね。あんな親でも全く恩がないわけじゃないのよ。
I mean, in the past, he mentioned that his parents had moved back here when Shinkoumi was new. He was born and raised here. Back then, the crime lovers were nowhere near as high as they were
でも
now.
あの男がお金を全部ギャンブルにつぎ込んで、だんだん貧しくなっていって。それでもギャンブルをやめない父親に愛想を尽かして、母親は出て行った。私も高校を卒業してすぐに家を出て、それからはあの男と一切連絡を取ってなかった。なのに久々に現れたと思ったら借金を押し付けられて、本当に最低最悪。大嫌いだし憎んでるわ。それでも見捨てることができないの。だからね、私がマネーマッチに出るのは高里組に脅されてるっていうのもあるけど、少しだけ、ほんの少しだけあいつを助けるって気持ちもないわけじゃない。
His throat quivered as he sucked in a shaky breath.
あんなやつ死んじゃえばいいって何度も思うのに不思議よね。でも借金を全部返したら今度こそ終わり。もう二度と助けないし関わらない。
He looked at Taku. Then he turned his firm gaze on me.
このマネーマッチで私自身も決着をつけるの。今の私はあいつにつけられた傷を何とか飲み込もうとした私。でも本当の自分が何を望んでるのか、どうしたかったのか、その決着をつけたいの。そのためにも
You go, Rei. That's my baby. Taku fixed Rei with a long, hard look. Then finally, he shook his head in defeat.
お前自身にそこまで固い決意があるなら、俺はもう何も言わんよ。ただ、帰ってくるのをここで待ってる。それだけだ。
ありがとう。
Rei beamed brightly.
と、お前はどう思う？
勝つだろ。
He's gonna win. I shrugged and Taku shot me a dirty look.
お前、また適当に。
あの親父のためじゃなく、自分のためにやるなら、デスマッチと同じだからな。
Taku looked at me in surprise. A wry smile crept up on his face.
つまり霊を信じてるってわけか。
Yes. That's what he's saying, Taku.
どうとでも。
That's one interpretation.
お前ちょっと変わったな。
トワはね、本当は昔からずっと変わってないのよ。いつも相手が本気かどうか、それを見てるだけ。
Ray smiled softly, then continued.
少しでも偽ったり逃げたりする人間には興味がないの。なんだか動物みたいよね。
動物？
本能で嗅ぎ分けてるってこと。
It's true.
確かに。そうかもしれんな。
Ray and Taku exchanged a knowing grin.
本人の前で勝手に動物呼ばわりするな。
Mood. How dare. At this, their smiles only grew wider. After that, Taku handed Ray a paper bag, told him he needed to eat something, then got in his car and drove off. I was instructed to escort Ray back home, so the two of us hopped on his motorcycle. While we were stopped at a red light, Ray started talking.
疲れた。
だろうな。
I love these little slightly, what is it, slight variation sets. The light changed to green and the motorcycle started
お
rolling.
腹すいた。
何？
I couldn't quite hear him over the wind and the roar of the engine.
お腹すいた。
何か食べればいいだろう。
He shouted over the wind at me, so I shouted
め
back.
んどくさい。
じゃあ好きにしろ。
Then starve me. Then starve. Before long, Ray's condo building came into view. Rather than head into the parking lot, he pulled up out front. Then he kept the engine, pulled his helmet off, and sat there without hopping off. Confused, I removed my own helmet.
めんどくさいでしょ。
He whispered quietly without looking at
何
me.
が？
私、うるさいし、ずうずうしいし、おせっかい焼きだし、トワをすぐ巻き込むし。
Oh,
トワ、
急になんだよ。
うん。
He murmured vaguely with his back still turned.
そんなの今更だろ。
The accent.
そうだけど、嫌じゃないの？
嫌ならここにはいない。
Exactly.
でも、いい加減にしろって思ったりしない？
Who cares?
お前はそういうもんだと思ってる。
We stand an accepting king. So it's just like, it's fine. Timidly, he looked over his shoulder at me. His gaze was tinged with melancholy.
トワは、私が今のままでもいいの？
I think he's more than fine.
昔と何か違うのか？
Exactly.
だって、ほら、やっぱりあるじゃない？昔はここまでわがままじゃなかったとか。
そんな細かいことを俺が気にすると思うか？
Exactly. I'm like, Toa does not care. He looked at me in surprise. He gazed at me for a long moment, then suddenly broke into a giggle.
そっか。そうよね。
As I squinted at him dubiously, he shook his head.
続きは部屋で話しましょう。
Yeah. With that, he started the engine back up. We parked in the parking lot, then headed up to the 6th floor. In the living room, Ray turned the lights on. Then he pulled off his coat, set the paper bag on the coffee table, and sat down on the sofa. I tossed my own coat over the back of the sofa like I lived here, then sat down next to him. He gazed up at the ceiling in silence for a while, then reached out and grabbed the paper bag like he'd only just remembered it was there.
これシュークリーム
Oh. When he peered into the bag, he remarked in surprise.
お前のために買ってきたんだな。
やだ
His voice shook and he stared at the floor like he was struggling to hold something in.
今こういうことされたらなんだか泣けてきちゃうじゃない涙腺緩んでるんだから
腹減ってるんだろ。ちょうどいい差し入れだな。
うんでもすぐに食べちゃうのはなんだかもったいないわ
Blinking back tears, Ray sniffled and rose to his feet. He tucked the whole bag into the fridge, then returned to the sofa.
さっきの話の続きだけど
What are we talking about? Are we talking about what I think he is? He let out a long breath like he was willing the tears to
トア
recede.
は出会った時から今までずっと私を受け入れてくれてるのねトアはあんまり覚えてないって言ってたけど私
Oh?
トアと知り合うよりも前からトアのことを知ってたのよ
Hey, yo. He smiled bashfully.
ある日の放課後学校の帰り道に駅前でトアを見て
Train station. This is like some shoujo romance type of beat.
トアは制服を着崩しててすごくだるそうにしながらタバコを吸ってたわ
Hey, yo.
その時ね駅前にあるシュークリーム屋さんの甘い匂いが充満しててその匂いを嗅ぎながらトアを見てたらなんだか美味しそうって思って
Excuse me?
変でしょ
Ray?
私もどうしてなのかよくわかんないけど
Ray?
でももしかしたらそれからなのかも食欲と興奮が結びついちゃったの
Oh no. He turned his face away like he was embarrassed to admit it.
高校は別になったんだけど実はずっとトアの追っかけしてたのよトアのことが気になって忘れられなくて
Why am I just
全
saying
然
this
知らなかった
now?
でしょ
あ
まあ気づかれないように追いかけてたんだから当然よね
Oh goodness.
それで
Not Ray being a
ト
Toa
アが絵を描
fanboy.
いてるって知ってメールしたのそれは覚えてるでしょ
I nodded. I didn't start painting until after high school. I thought that email exchange was the moment Ray and I first met. He told me he wanted to cast away his manhood once and for all. He wanted to cut his... oh my goodness. And he wanted me to paint him doing it. Ultimately, it hurt too much for him to go through with it, so we called the whole thing off.
あの時は女にならなきゃって思って必死だったのでも自分が望んでいない方向へ強引に進もうとしてたのよねそれに本当にトアがユーフォリアなのかを確かめたいって下心もあったし
Dang, Ray's very thorough.
今はちゃんと受け入れたいと思ってる本当は自分が何を望んでるのかが分かったから
Oh boy.
私は男だし男でありたい
Or is it happening?
だから
Is it finally happening?
トア
He looked at me nervously.
前は失敗しちゃったけど今度こそトアに最後まで見届けてほしい
Uh,
私が自分自身を受け入れる瞬間を書いてほしいの
okay.
また挑戦するのか。
In other words, I was asking if he was about to to do it for real. But Ray shook his head, grinning.
違うわ切りたいってことじゃないわよ言ったでしょ男でありたいって私の今の望みはね
Oh, CG! Just then, his expression turned serious.
トアと本気の殴り合いがしたいのトアの骨と
Okay,
肉を
that's
感
where
じ
I
たい
thought this was going.
トアにも私の骨と肉を感じてほしい
That's where I thought we were going.
そうしたらトアと全力を出し切ったら何かが変われる気がするの
Toa one literally looks like a raccoon though. I'm just like, Ray can like beat dudes like to death. And he's like, I want to fight Toa. And I'm like, Toa is like 2 pounds. I could sit on Toa and he would snap. His tone was one of firm resolve. Quietly, I made eye contact, unflinching. My sharp gaze bored into his eyes like I was trying to penetrate the very depths of his soul.
わかった。
Well, if he could do it for Kirimizu,
見
why
せろ
not?
よ。お前の全部。
Let's go, besties. Let's get it. Oh, here we go, kids. Ah. Just. Let's get her done.
とは
Say, tell me,
あのね
how have you felt about me all this time? But I don't want this one, right? You kept trying to take care of me, so I thought you must be weird. Yeah, I can see that. Oh yes. I feel a lot less stressed. So tell me, why did you want to know? I've been wanting to ask for a while now.
あのね
Let's give the positive impression?
悪くない。
I had a feeling it would make a crazy painting if you really went
よ
for
かっ
it.
た
So you could see the artistic value in it. Okay.
確か
I'm surprised you didn't start avoiding me after the first
そ
attempt.
れって
Why didn't you? No, just respond.
ポジティブ。
We're responding.
お前は。
Back when you asked to be my model, I could tell your suffering ran deep.
そうだ。
I realized you were traumatized.
ありがとう
Wow, I appreciate that you've always taken care of me seriously. You look like you were ready. Okay. If someone's serious, I get the picture. Let's try that one. I
そう
don't
だ
think the other one is really what we're going for. If someone's serious, generally I get the picture.
ええ
Yeah, you can always tell, huh?
気持ち悪いって思わない
I mean, you're pretty... I feel like Ray's masculine enough, though. You know what I'm saying? It's just like... I know he struggles with it, but I was just like, I mean, you're the one beating dudes up. Like, that's pretty masculine to me. Like...
ポジティブ。
I think?
問題ないだろ。
You're still the same guy on the inside, so it won't be any different. Gotcha. That's how you feel, huh? No, I don't think I need to say that. Or am I wrong? Ray's eyes glimmered hesitantly, and he hung his head. Something wasn't right. Oh. That's so funny that that's what gets me. Okay, let's go. Okay. Let's get back to the vibes here.
見せろよ。お前の。
Okay. I know this is a buzzkill, but I'm very tired. This part has taken a long while. I got real deep into it. So I'm actually gonna pause here because it seems like this is the last interrogation for Ray. So we're just gonna finish it up next part, and then hopefully we can start up on Mr. Madarame. So I'm gonna save here, and it'll be a good spot to start for next part, yeah? So, all right. Oh my goodness. Woo. Ooh, that was a ride and a half. So, yeah, I think the only complaint I have about Rei's route right now is that it feels so long for some reason. I don't think it's like any shorter or longer than Taku's route, but I think it's just because the pacing of the story is interesting. You know, I could kind of guess some of Rei's traumas because they were hinting at it a lot. And then when it comes down to his dad, I'm like, oh, that dude is dirtbag, like the dirtbag of dirtbaggiest homies, you know? So I was like, there's nothing good about this guy. There's like, he's not remorseful. There's nothing in this dude. So oh man, Rei's route really has me, like, you guys probably like just heard, that's why I was pretty quiet in between a lot of like the dialogue, the revealing dialogues and stuff, because it was just so sad, you know, because I think because it's also so very realistic, if that makes sense. You know, it's always so interesting when, like, you know, the saying goes, art imitates life, and that's the truth. It's just, you know, it's just normal because art comes from us humans, and we make it based on our experiences, etc., 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 all that good stuff. But man, oh gosh, that was like, yeah, it's just such a different, like, emotional reaction than it was to Taku's route. Like, it's just so, like, again, my emotions are very different, and I was just like, I didn't realize how, like, severely different they would be. Like, you know, because like with Taku, it was just like, it's like the TikTok that's like, but like Rei's route isn't like the I'm spinning like a ballerina. It's like not quite that. Rei's route is very like, it's just so sad. You know, Rei spends most of the route very hopeless and depressed, and he doesn't know what to do. He's highly miserable. He doesn't know how to face his own father because his father is such a point of trauma for him. It's like everything wrong in his life stemmed from his father's neglect, abuse, toxicity, bigotry, gambling addiction, you know, all those kinds of things. It's like everything bad that happened to Rei was because it's rooted from his father's negligence, and just overall being a terrible person. But okay, I think we're almost at the end, right? Because if I've reached the third interrogation, we'll probably finish it up, Rei's route next part, so I won't be surprised if we're done with it. Otherwise, thank you guys for watching me again. I've been a little messy, tired, but you guys, you know, that's my state of being. But thank you for watching anyway. I appreciate you guys supporting all the time, and like I you know, I really like went in when I decided to upload Slow Damage as a playthrough. I didn't know like how it would work out, you know. I just figured, I was like, I really want to like post it up, you know, for myself, if anything. And I appreciate you guys chatting with me and talking with me about, you know, Slow Damage, nitro+chiral in general. Like, I appreciate it. So it's been really fun. I look forward to recording Slow Damage and playing it for you guys as well as myself. It's been a breath of fresh air to me, since I've you know, I've had like most people, I've had a pretty rough and tough couple of years. I feel like most people have, but even before then I was trying to figure things out, but that's for another time. But thank you guys for watching. once again. If you want more Boys Love, all BL, other related items, please check out my Boys Love podcast. You Can Smooch Tho. Season 1 is up on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and I'm working on posting it up on YouTube. Season 2 is coming later this year, so look forward to that as well. As always, stay happy, stay healthy, stay well until the next part. Now, I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Good night.